Once in a great while, we're all able to gather together to watch Kent Hovind get his ass absolutely handed to him in one of his precious little debates that he just has to have so much and so very often to feed his micro penis of an ego. That's right. As you all know, because I mentioned on Discord and the like that I was inevitably going to cover it today, we are indeed covering last night's debate between PhDTony and Kent Hovind. Now, this, of course, was shared on or was hosted by Modern Day Debates, the Nazi ass, obnoxious as hell, debate obsessed channel that James Kunz has going for himself. And I get compliments on the intro music choices because I have actual great taste in music, far above that of anyone else on the internet. My music taste is excellent. Yep. Uh, in all seriousness, to contrast with the garbage ass whoa shit that James has in front of every single debate for minutes at a time, obnoxiously loud on his pathetic ass channel. And I call it pathetic because while it is a successful channel, he is a man who makes money. He is a grifter. He is a man who makes money by hosting the most just terrible of people he can muster to host precious debates. He gives a voice to absolute scum of the earth, like Andrew Wilson, amongst so many others who I just haven't happened to have wasted the brain cells on remembering the names and identities of. But it suffices to say, and Hovind hated him for the longest because he didn't think he was too fair of a moderator. Because fairness on Hovind's end is, of course, shutting the mic off whenever Hovind is saying anything, but allowing Kent to say whatever the fuck he wants about anybody else to anybody else. You can't insult Kent, but Kent can sure throw out shit he wants to. Always petty, one-sided bullshit. Um, but apparently, because Kent can't get anybody, anyone to debate him, especially because we all know Donnie is an absolute piece of shit, and most other people Hovind would choose to have are absolute garbage, if not just regular garbage. He's started accepting having things on Modern Day Debate again. So that's been a bit of a pleasure because it's allowed us to have more instances of Kent Hovind debates. And people are, if they're starting in good faith, by the end of it, they've clearly have learned enough that and have obviously been pre-informed by people on the nature of Hovind that at a point, any attempt at good faith is only an academic, thing to do. It's only a matter, of course, before the bullshit happens and you just have to go gloves off. No, I've not watched any of the debate. A few seconds just to click ahead and see. That was it. So this is all going to be new to me. Apparently, many of y'all have watched it already and spoiled some bits of it in Discord. Very naughty. I do not approve. On a side note, had to buy a new monitor today. Not that my old monitor was broken, but it got a dead line and row of subpixels. And even though I'm blind as hell, I can see shit like that and my hyper focus on it. So it drove me insane. So I went on and thank Satan for PayPal Pay in 4 so that I can just barely finance a computer monitor. So yeah, still have a shoddy keyboard, still have a dying mouse, but I got a new monitor. So there's that. And I hate that the color gamut is different from my old one that is my secondary monitor. I can't use the old new monitor as my secondary and just rotate them, down cycle them because I don't have a second HDMI port on this graphics card. It's running DVI for the other monitor, so that's kind of a special thing. And it's going to cause slight problems whenever I get the Mac Pro and stuff back over here, the 2008. Yeah. But anyway, there's James on the screen. How you doing, James? Hope you choke. Really don't fucking like you much, dude. Just gonna be honest. You're kind of a piece of shit for the way you host these things. And of course, like so many Debate Bro channels, does that thing where he has to have himself on the screen the entire goddamn time because we really need to see him just standing there looking off into space. I just and yeah, Destiny and Andrew Wilson, it's like the whole thing is just a load of shit. Let others do a react to it. There you go. But okay, hi everybody. So happy to see you guys just here. I got 12 people so far. Hell yeah. Okay, I've been running preamble for 5 minutes. The opening music was about 4 minute music. Wow. Before I can even get going, Mithril with the two great British pound super chat towards a new keyboard. Thank you. Best situation is I find a replacement internal cable and can do that because the keyboard is good. It's filthy, but it's good. Like I can clean it. The problem is an internal cable. The internal USB cable is frayed at a spot, and it's replaceable. It's just actually getting the component to replace it with. But it's a nice Philco mechanical unit that was a gift many years ago, and I already did repairs on it to get it going. So that, a cheapo Logitech mouse, new what I order, Samsung. I think this is yes. I got a Korean monitor in front of me. There you go. Remember, take a shot every time the Hovind compares anything to a strawberry. Apparently, he brings up the pin thing in this one. So that's going to be fun to hear for the 500th time. On a side note, I got some incense. So if I start coughing a bit, that might be why. Because I just realized in the middle of doing this that I am just breathing in raw clumps of wonderful Nagchampa fragrance. And yeah, that might do something for my sinuses or my always sore throat. Anyway, enough putting off dealing with the Hovind. Let's begin.
Hey, everybody. Tonight we're debating whether or not the flood happened, and we are starting right now with Kent's opening statement. Thanks for being with us. Kent, the floor is all yours.
Well, thank you, brother. Yes, sir. The Bible says in
So they're starting with Kent this time around. Very good.
2 Peter chapter 3, in the last days there would be scoffers who are willingly ignorant of how God made the heavens and the earth, and they're willingly ignorant of the flood of Noah, how the world was overflowed with water and it perished, and they're willingly ignorant of the coming judgment of God. I've been a Baptist preacher 52 years.
Say it with me, everyone. Magic book full of bullshit says people won't believe magic book full of bullshit. What a surprise. Uh-oh, what's that? Jumi's been a member for 11 months. Shut up, Kent! We want Moodang! Yes. We all want Moodang. Dude, I'm just saying, if the fan community could fund Chibidoki going to Thailand and meeting Moodang, that would be awesome. But the problem is, to really make it matter, we'd have to see Chibi. And as someone who is just a symbol on the screen, I respect Chibi's anonymity. So creates a bit of a problem.
Been a Christian 57 years, been a human, well, 50, long time, 73.
Can't all the matters the same age. You've really been a human for 6,000 beers.
Plus the 9 months in mom. So anyway, I believe the Bible is literally true and scientifically accurate. God made everything in 6 days. I taught high school science and math 15 years, and I've done.
No, you didn't.
300 and almost 400 debates now on the topic of creation versus evolution. Yes, the flood story,
because that's the only thing you have a script for,
as given in the Bible, is literally true and scientifically accurate.
And yeah, I just popped in very early, like right about here, and enough to see that Kent did go first. And yeah, Tony's just like, oh dear God.
There are over 500 flood legends that have been discovered around the world in the last,
Holy fucking hell. Laura's been a member for a year. This is incredible. None of that is relevant to the flood. Okay, fast forward, Kent. All right, we have the request to speed Kent along. We are going 2x. No. We're going to go 2.25. Are you going to play? There you go.
2,000 years. Here's if you look, no, not that far. If you look at the dates in the Bible, it says that the people before that flood came lived to be 900 years old. Adam was 930. Read Genesis 5. All the folks in the Bible are living to be about 900. There are many legends found around the world called the Golden Age. Cultures with no Christian history, no influence by Christianity. She'll talk about a time when man used to live to be 1,000. Well, after the flood was over, lifespans dropped off to 400, then 200, then 100. These people are going to be killing.
Not all cultures talk about people living to be 1,000. It's actually kind of a thing isolated to that particular area, Kent. Other spotted cultures around the world may have had similar enough ideas, especially with 1,000 being a nice round number and base 10. But not everyone used base 10. That's really is kind of a near East thing. But secondarily, yeah, not everyone had those golden age legends the way you're wanting to describe. And when you talk about flood legends, of course, there's flood legends. People tend to live near water, near rivers and coastlines, where guess what? Floods happen. Wow.
Their kids and grandkids about the flood. Why would there be 400 or 500 flood legends around the world in different cultures if there wasn't a flood?
Probably because people live near water. Again, Kent.
About a local flood. They're talking about a flood that guy had to build a big boat to escape and fill it full of animals.
They can easily be talking about a local flood, Kent. They can easily be talking about one, as your flood myth is, because their entire world consists of maybe the 10 or 20 miles around them, and that's it.
If it's a local flood, you tell them to move. You don't have to build a boat filled with animals if it's a local flood. So I believe the flood legends, and the legends of a golden age are pretty clear indication. If you choose not to believe the Bible, okay, then believe all the other cultures that talk about it. Yes, there was a time when man used to live to be nearly 1,900, and there was a time when the world was destroyed by water. And the evidence.
Nope. All kinds of people can talk about it. That doesn't make it real. Look at all the Spider-Man comics out there and movies, TV shows, Batman. Hate to tell you, Kent, there's no Spider-Man and there's no Batman. There's plenty of people who have stories about Batman and Spider-Man.
For that flood is overwhelming. It's all around us. The Earth is divided up in many parts into layers like this. I taught her science 15 years. They call this the geologic column.
Like anyone can see his goddamn charts over there. Wait, do I have this in super low res? Yeah, I do. 240p. All right, let's go to 720. There we go. Doesn't look any better. I mean, it does, but you know.
This geologic column does not exist anywhere in the world, boys and girls. They say the top layer of dirt is younger. I say, where did it come from? How can that dirt be a different age than that dirt? Every speck of dirt in the world is the same age.
God, he's just throwing everything out. You're leaving nothing to the imagination here, Kent.
No, during Noah's flood, the moon holding a bump of water up called the high tide while the earth spins under it is going to raise and lower the ocean level every 12 hours, 6.5 minutes. As it raises, the ocean level is sucking it in from the sides. It's a lateral sideways movement of trillions of tons of water during Noah's flood because of the moon. That's what made all the layers to the earth. All the layers are the same age. All over the world, petrified trees are found standing up, running through all the layers. Just Google polystrata, poly meaning many, polystrata fossils. There are hundreds of trees that have been found standing up.
Yeah, Nimrod. It's a fascinating thing I learned about. See, being in America, I don't have. I have the privilege of knowing large areas that are pretty much landlocked. But even there, like mysteriously, communities are always near sources of water. And over there in Ireland, it's pretty easy to get near water, so it might not be so surprising. It seems like a default. But over here in this big old USA, yeah, we even notice it here. Except for Arizona for some reason. They're just crazy like that. Anyway, that joke sounded better in my head as I was formulating it, but once I ran it in real time, it sucked. I apologize. I will proceed to watch 3 Hovind videos. I'll proceed to set up a queue of Hovind videos in my sleep as penance. Do not want to have dreams that involve Kent Hovind.
Running through all these layers. Noah's flood made all the layers in 1 year, and it destroyed everything except what was on the boat. Noah's boat. God, in His great mercy, gave Noah probably 100 years. We don't know the time to build that boat. Everybody around the world probably talking about it. There's a crazy man building a boat, and they could have gotten on. The door was open. And Tony, you and everybody else know, you should know, God loves you. He wants you to come to heaven. If you don't want to go, okay, but the door's open. You can go. As long as you're breathing and above your room temperature, you can accept Christ into your heart and be saved.
Well, Arkham, Kent, funny you were talking about Batman and you got Arkham Orderly. Nice. The thing is, Kent's idea is that all the flood stories we have are from descendant groups, from Noah's family, from the cultures that formed after the flood. And of course, the problem with that is that we know that these stories go back well before anything in their magical Bible, so the time just doesn't work. But of course, Kent won't allow facts to negate the actual age of reality that he thinks everything is. So, yeah.
And go to heaven. So 2 Peter 3 said the scoffers will be ignorant of that flood because that represents the judgment of God on this earth. God.
Except they're not ignorant. Ignorant means they don't know, don't understand, haven't been exposed to or educated on it. And very clearly people have, especially this interlocutor, given that they're going to debate you on it and demonstrate where it is false. So I think that's the complete opposite of ignorant, Kent. The Bible's a shitty book. Little things like that prove how shitty it is. That even in fundamental vernacular, fundamental grammar, and expressing an idea, it fails miserably.
God judged it before. It's His earth. He can judge it if He wants. And He's going to judge it again. I think at the beginning of the flood, what there used to be before the flood came, there was crystal canopy around the world, and it was probably 2 or 3 fingers thick of ice. That got shattered during the flood when the fountains of...
Also, can I just be a pedantic asshole for a moment, since I am some jerk on the internet, and point out that we have the top half is devoted to the 2 debate people. We've got James and advertising sitting there on the bottom left, and then More advertising in the bottom right, occupying half of the goddamn stream. Now, thankfully, it's taken up by pinned messages, my lovely avatar, and y'all's wonderful chat. Can't believe I only this past couple of weeks discovered this option to have the chat on the screen in this particular way. Fuck yeah! But you'll notice that above my my floating circle, all respect to Skeptic, is an ad for check out the official MDD TikTok. Are you telling me there are unofficial TikToks that you needed to verify that you are the real one and not an imposter? What is this obsession that everyone has these days with official this and official that? Who officiated it? Does it need to be distinguished from non-official ones? Are there fan accounts? I don't think so. Right? I really don't think there are. Also, if it's the official account, it should probably just be understood like, hey, check out MDD on TikTok, link in the description. That should be understood. I don't get this shit. Everyone's just getting stupider by the day, it seems. Anyway, crash out over. Let's continue.
The deep broke open, and that super cold ice canopy would be sucked in and dumped on the North and South Pole, having an instant ice age. That ice would take 400 years to melt back. I don't know any other way to explain. Let's see slide number 464. All over the world, we have what's called a continental shelf. Why? Well, that used to be the beach line. When Noah got off the ark, the oceans were actually smaller because the ice caps were bigger. If you lower the oceans 200 or 300 feet out of 12,000, not much. Lower the oceans a few hundred feet, you can walk to Australia. You can walk over to New Zealand. The oceans, well, if the oceans are smaller, the continents are bigger because the ice caps are bigger. Over the next few hundred years, that ice melts back, raising the ocean level. I think the flood stories all indicate there was a flood. The Bible certainly says there was a flood. Jesus believed it, that's for sure. If somebody wishes to deny the flood, they're following the prophecy, or fulfilling the prophecy of 2 Peter chapter 3. There would be scoffers who would be willingly ignorant. You'd have to be dumb on purpose to not believe in the flood. So I take a stand the Bible's true, literally accurate. There was a flood, the water from the flood is still here. The oceans are gaining salt every day. Mineral salts wash into the oceans and the river.
Yeah, Gilgamesh-based story is really making the rounds, and that's what the Bible story is. It is the Gilgamesh story. In fact, a lot of Christianity is directly taken from things like the Epic of Gilgamesh, Zoroastrianism, etc.
Evaporation takes out the water, not the salt. Today, the oceans are 3.6% salt. They could have done that in less than 5,000 years. All the data points to the oceans being less than 5,000 years old, and during Noah's flood, it was all fresh water. We believe Noah's Ark. Is the story true? Noah's Ark probably had moon holes in the floor with walls built up inside. So when you go over a wave, the water goes up and down those holes. And actually,
the whole thing. He is just giving the entire fucking thing. Now I know why Laura wanted to skip this beyond the usual desire to skip Hovind's intros. Holy fuck, that's all this is. And he gets to ramble on like this for 10-15 minutes. That's why I'm like, no. If I ever host anything, it's going to get us into open discussion as soon as it can. We can figure out your points. Discuss the topic.
Piston pumping fresh air in now, and the whole world's fresh water. So if you want to water the animals, you have a valve on the side of your own pool. Just turn the valve. Noah's Ark probably had big rocks hanging over the side. They found 23 so far. Drove shells in that area. Rocks weigh 9,000 pounds with holes in the top for a rope to hang the thing over the boat.
Yeah, fair point. That's because it's a grift channel referring to MDD. It's made to grift money from idiots. There are very few channels I will pay to get my chat noticed. MDD is not one of them. They don't even get a view from me. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm kind of violating my own ethics by going here to watch this, but I think they have like exclusivity things going on with the channel with the participants. So Kent can't have this broadcast on his channel yet.
What was it designed to go anywhere? There's nowhere to go.
Yep. Kent, shut up. We want Mudang. Mudang is too busy showing hope. She loves the sea. It's so blue.
Noah's Ark was designed to float and land. End of story. So yes, I believe I can handle any questions that Tony may have or comments about the not believing in the flood. But God predicted people would come who would be willingly ignorant of that flood. So it's overwhelming. The evidence of sedimentary rock everywhere in the world all happened in Noah's flood. The erosion marks like Grand Canyon probably happened after the flood, maybe 100 years later, when the lake got too full behind it. Plug up Grand Canyon and Grand Lake will form. Again, going back to
And let's note that Kent is legitimately saying nothing of fucking value here, just straight up.
Colorado. So most major canyon features probably formed after the flood because of a lake overflowing. So I'll take a stand the Bible is true. Go ahead, Tony.
Thank you very much.
All right, back to people who actually know what the fuck they're talking about. My God. Next time I'm putting Kent at 3x speed.
Much for that opening. And with that, folks, want to let you know if it's your first time here at Modern Day Debate, I'm your host, Dr. James. We are a fully neutral platform hosting debates.
Fully neutral, my fucking ass. I've seen battery terminals more neutral than you.
On science, religion, and politics, and it's only debates with equal time for each guest. Also, if you have not heard, if you've been living in a cave on Mars with your fingers in your ears and
No, I've just been pulling a Saddam Hussein most of my adult life. Don't mind me.
You didn't know DebateCon 8 Modern Day Debates flagship event is happening in Dallas this July.
Shut up. We want Mudang.
Right now, get your tickets as we're floor is all yours.
Notice he has to put that in the middle of the goddamn debate. In between them talking. He can't just, fucking save it for after the intros. He has to cut the middle of the first intro. What the hell, man? I guess getting the retention rates. And, oh, look, everyone disappeared because for some reason after like 10 years of doing this, they still get their shit together.
Thank you. Kent
There we go. That's how you do this shit.
gave a lengthy introduction. I'm a geophysicist. I've been studying paleo sea level change for 30 years. So we'll be looking at the data regarding sea level change.
Subtle jab there. Look at the data.
And the techniques that we
Or data, if you prefer. Both are fine.
use to recognize whether or not sea level has changed. We have already had our first lie of the evening from Kent. Let's
calling him out right from the get-go. Excellent. Also, that had a very nice reverb in the room. There we go. That's the spot. Yeah, that's nice. Wish I had good recording equipment. I'd try to capture that.
look at koalas. How can you feed a koala for 12 months on an ark? You can't. They only eat eucalyptus leaves, and they only eat fresh eucalyptus leaves. They're notoriously fussy eaters. Hey,
real quick, does anyone remember a cartoon that came on Nickelodeon that had a woman, a girl who had like a koala? I don't know if the koala was an alien or what the deal with this thing was. It had kind of a, I want to say anime-esque style, but insofar as the same way that if you just take a glance at some characters, stuff like Inspector Gadget will have similar traits. Yeah, late 80s, early 90s, involves something with a eucalyptus tree that was at the girl's house. I'm trying to remember now that I think about it, and I can't remember. So some of y'all know these things really well. Looking at you, Zoomy. I'll probably ask ChatGPT about it down the line, but yeah.
will only eat leaves off a branch. So where did you get the fresh eucalyptus leaves to feed them while they're on the ark? They also sleep for 18 to 22 hours a day, and they are
Those are rookie numbers. You gotta up those numbers.
notoriously slow metabolically. So how did they cover the 11,000 kilometers back to Australia? And where did they find the eucalyptus leaves on their way? Kent is wrong when he says that there were land bridges all the way to Australia. This is just factually incorrect. There is a thing called the Lydecker line, where the depth of the ocean was 3,000 meters.
Newsies, it's a dubbed anime. All right, I will check that out on the side. Thanks, Otaku.
Or 2 miles and approximately 300 kilometers or 200 miles across. An organism that sleeps for 18 to 22 hours a day is going to have a tremendously difficult time getting across that gap. We can also point to the ridiculous notion of 8 people. There are a number of diseases that only occur in humans. We can see with our own eyes that these diseases survived the flood: syphilis, leprosy, smallpox, and typhoid. It is an interesting question as to how 8 people survived a year with these, or how they transmitted them to one another and to their descendants after the flood. Doubtless Kent has some sort of homey anecdote that will explain all of this, but let's actually get on to the science of sea level change. Sea level index points form at the interface between the land and the ocean, and they form indicators of sea level change. They can take biological forms. Here, for instance, we see corals, barnacles, stromatolites, and algal mats. They can be archaeological. For instance, fish tanks, Roman fish tanks in the bottom left, Air Lannis, which is a Brittany site in the top there, and these cave paintings that are in a submerged cave in southern France. So what are the physical processes that can cause sea level to change? You can change the volume of the water within the...
Okay, not to interrupt this awesome bit of education, but double checking the anime suggestion. That could well be it. Some clips from the intro definitely look like stuff I can recall. I'll also check out this other suggestion. Also, Adventures of Blinky Bill. Okay.
Oceans. This is what is proposed in the flood hypothesis, that water was added to the oceans. You can cause a change in sea level at a point, at a location, by having vertical land motion. You can uplift the land, which makes sea level fall, or you can have subsidence of the land, which makes sea level rise. This occurs only locally. You can change the geometry of the ocean basins. You can have soil falling into it, or you can have subsidence of the ocean basin. This again will affect all coastal locations. Or you can have changes in the geoid, in which case the change in sea level is geographically complicated. The geoid is a construction from gravity and rotational. It's an equipotential surface that coincides with sea level meaned over a 19-year period. The geoid is changing today in response to the ice loads of the last glacial cycle. Here are gravity measurements of the change in geoid that we can measure. So the biblical flood requires that all points on Earth were inundated simultaneously, and that sea level was caused exclusively by an increase in ocean volume. So, introducing sea level indicators from widely separated locations with zero age control does not indicate that these indicators formed at the same time. That is just an assertion. You have to demonstrate that these sea level indicators formed at the same time. Otherwise, you're just claiming, you're just making a bald, unsubstantiated claim. For instance, here are some flood events.
We're still going back to the koala anime thing from my childhood. The first suggestion still seems the most likely. Seeing particular scenes of the characters in the tree, in a tree does look like something I can recall. I might actually have to legitimately watch this down the line. Anyway, back to someone educating the fuck out of Mr. Know-It-All.
From South Africa, from China, from Australia, from India, Pakistan, America. Does this indicate that this indicate that sea levels were higher? Well, no, they're not from the same time, right? They're widely separated events. So obviously sea levels weren't higher. Even if we restrict ourselves to flood events that occurred in the same year, the fact that multiple regions on Earth were underwater does not, at approximately the same time, in the same year, does not indicate that global sea levels rose. This is not a valid indicator that sea levels have risen. Introducing sea levels that have experienced significant vertical uplift does not indicate sea level was higher than present when those indicators formed. Here is an erosional indicator of sea level that my opponent will claim formed in, 4,000 years or something like that. Good luck demonstrating that. Here's an example of an elevated one above a modern wave platform. Here's a succession of 6 of them. Now, could this be due...
Nismo with 10 Australian dollar dues. This was so embarrassing to watch if you're a Kent fan. He just spewed out the same 40-year-old script, but we expect that. What made me happy, Chris, was a certain plastic writing tool may be brought up. Yeah, it's been spoiled on me. The pen will be brought up. I have this big ink pen.
Due to an increase in ocean volume? No, it couldn't. And the reason I can say that is because if that were the case, these things would be found everywhere, and they aren't. They're only found in locations that are experiencing uplift. Here we see raised terraces. These are interglacial terraces with corals on them that we can radiometrically date going back many, many years. This is another example. These brownish stripes here are the sides of coral terraces. This is Huon Peninsula, which is undergoing an uplift rate of approximately 4 centimeters a year. Here's a less professional but closer photo that shows these. Just because these indicators are above sea level now does not indicate that they were above sea level when the corals formed. They formed at or below modern sea level, and then they were uplifted by tectonic processes.
Yes. Yes, Kent not accepting the nature of the tectonic plates and basic planetary, the nature of geology insofar as the continent shifting and the like. He doesn't accept or understand this at all. He thinks it's all side effects of the flood because that's all they care about. This particular type of Christian, that's all they really give a fuck about is the flood.
And tectonic processes are not the only ones that can cause erosional features to uplift. Here, for instance, we see some GIA uplifted shorelines in North America. To establish that a global flood occurred, we would require many widespread and reliable sea level index points that are above modern sea level that can securely be dated to be synchronous. What does the observational data say? The observational data does not say that that occurred.
Wait. I just clicked with me. Is our friend here using papyrus? I think he is. You gonna go back? No, did I just break everything? I think I just broke everything. Ladies and gentlemen, I just broke the entire stream. Wow. Impressive. Are we going to load YouTube?
The only ones that can cause erosional features to uplift. Here, for instance, we see some GIA uplifted shorelines in North America. To establish that a global flood...
Yeah, that's papyrus. Come on, man! Although you used it well.
...occurred, we would require many widespread and reliable sea level index points that are above modern sea level that can securely be dated to be synchronous. What does the observational data say? The observational data does not say that that occurred. Here's the observational data from corals across the taken from across the world from far field sites.
Well, I mean, Kent denies all of actual fucking science. The moment it dares conflict with his favorite fairy tale, he goes, nuh-uh. So, yeah, it's an instant lose.
Sites far from the former ice sheets during the last, and we can answer one of Kent's questions. Why are there so many legends about floods? This is because globally, sea levels rose by about 135 meters in the past 20,000 years. So for 12,000 years, sea level was rising persistently and globally. And we would argue, my research team would argue, that this is why you have such pervasive flood myths. Are there any other sea level records?
I had not really thought about that before. Huh.
We have? Yes, we've got a sea level record from Wanganui in New Zealand. This is a 5-kilometer sediment core that's shown here. What does this sediment core show? It shows about 50 cycles. In each cycle, there's about 100 meters of sediment that oscillates between rising sea levels, high stand sea levels, then falling sea levels. And you see this repeated over and over and over again, 50 different times at the same site. This cannot be explained using a flood narrative. Kent is doubtless writing down right now that this can be explained by tides. That's because he is a nescient nitwit. This can't be explained by tidal cycles. This won't be explained by tidal cycles because of oxygen isotope data. So let's get on to that. There are two prominent isotopes of let's move that over here. Two prominent isotopes of oxygen, oxygen-16 and oxygen-18. When these evaporate from the oceans, the oxygen-16 requires less kinetic energy in order to get from the oceans. The oxygen-18 is heavier and requires more kinetic energy. So clouds have relatively more oxygen-16 and relatively less oxygen-18 compared to the oceans. When it rains from these clouds, again, the oxygen-18 has a tendency to drop out. So by the time the cloud makes it to an ice sheet, the water in the clouds is heavily depleted in this oxygen-18. So
now this I'm interested in.
As ice sheets get larger, the oceans become relatively enriched in oxygen 18. When we look at data from ice cores, we can see, sorry, that seems to have been copied across. What's going on there? No, I'll have to, there we are. Okay, we can look at ice cores, and we can look at the data, the oxygen 18 data from these ice cores, and we can see that there are many cycles of variation in these oxygen 18 signatures. It is not possible to change the oxygen isotope concentration in the ocean on a 6-hour time scale, as my opponent is going to suggest. That just doesn't happen. And you can see up here in green, this is the oxygen 18 core up here. This is the deuterium sampling down here. And this is the
Oh yeah, talking my language.
ocean oxygen 18 reference that you can see. It may look like they're correlated, but actually the scales are opposite. Here you can see the highest numbers at the top. Here you can see the highest numbers at the bottom. They've done this to make it look like that. But anyway, this is fully labeled up here. So these are the benthic, which come from ocean cores taken from 59 global sites that show oxygen 18 isotope oscillations going down. Again, these are cores that are many, many kilometers deep, and we can sample the little foraminifera that are found in there. We can then tabulate and compare these, and we can see that they are not repetitions of the same glacial cycle. They are, in fact, distinct glacial cycles going back many millions of years.
30 seconds.
You can look at the black and white signals down the bottom, which are changes in Earth's magnetic field, which again cannot be explained under an hourly or tidal model for how these things formed. I've got a lot more data. We'll doubtless get into it as the discussion unfolds.
You got it. And with that, folks, as you can see at the bottom right of your screen, if you didn't know, Modern Day Debate has a TikTok. I am pinning that in
Wow. No one with any brain cells gives a fuck.
the description box and in the live chat. Check out the Modern Day Debate TikTok for clips. And we also, in fact, coincidentally, we just uploaded a clip of Erica Gutsick Gibbon and Kent Hovind, one of their past debates. That's on our Facebook page.
You just call him Trent Hovind, and what is Kent grinning for? Oh yeah, I forgot. I can't go back in the video. YouTube chokes now.
Gutsick Gibbon and Kent Hovind, one of their
Trent Hovind
past debates. That's on our Facebook page. So check out both our TikTok and Facebook page. I'll put those both in the live chat. With that, we'll get into the open dialogue. Thank you very much, gentlemen. The floor is all yours.
There we go. The only part of any goddamn debate that fucking matters. Open fucking discussion. Let's do this shit, Leroy Jenkins.
Yours.
So, would you care to revisit your claim that it is possible to walk from Asia to Australia by lowering sea level by a couple of 100 meters? Because I demonstrated in my presentation that is in fact not true. That sea levels along the Lydecker line are actually many kilometers deep, not several hundred feet deep.
Sure. I'd be glad to teach you a little bit of earth science, sir.
What an arrogant piece of shit.
As the oceans are rising from the melting water, it's going to start flowing over any obstacles. Grand Canyon probably formed in a week when a lake overflowed. There may have been something overflowing in that. I didn't study that particular place. I've been to Australia, but I didn't study that spot. So I think, and plus the continents, the plates of the earth are moving around a little bit. Maybe that crack wasn't there for a few hundred years after the flood, and it's moved over and opened up a big trench. All kinds of things are happening to open up trenches.
What's your evidence for either of those claims?
What's your evidence that it did not happen? You're making the claim the Bible is...
Answer the question, Kent.
How about when you ask me a question, you actually let me answer the question before carrying on as though there is no answer to the question. There is an answer to how I know that that didn't happen, because there are no indications of fluvial erosion in that particular area, and we can date chronologically. We have done ocean drilling programs, and we can date the material there, and we know that it was there before the last glacial cycle. And I've studied geophysics for 30 years. The idea of you teaching me some earth science is positively laughable.
Okay.
That's a nice way to put it. Okay. Fuck you, Kent.
Go ahead and laugh then.
You're not fun.
Would you tell me how you dated those layers?
Yes, radiometrically.
Are you familiar with how radiometric dating was just created in the last 70 years after World War II, and it's based on several obvious assumptions? You don't know how much was in...
Except that we're talking about marine organisms. So several of those assumptions are actually very easy to eliminate. For instance, we know for the thorium and protactinium, uranium daughter products, cannot possibly contaminate corals or forams. Do you know why?
Do I know why they cannot be contaminated by those elements? No,
Yes.
I guess I don't ever talk to coral, but go ahead.
Well, you've clearly never talked to a geochronologist either, because they could answer your questions. So thorium and protactinium are not water soluble. They don't dissolve in water. Therefore, if they are present in a sample, they can only be there as daughter products of radioactive decay, right?
I don't know. You're claiming that.
I don't know. Yeah, that is the conclusion from the proposition, which is a known fact, Kent. This shows that you have no willingness to think about anything. You conduct yourself with the petulance of the overgrown child that you are.
Maybe so. I'll find out. I would check ICR.org. They've got some physicists that deal with that type of thing.
Yes.
ICR doesn't have a goddamn thing but other fucking grifters. Shut the hell up, Kent. Who
have zero peer-reviewed publications on this topic outside of their own journal. So I'm completely uninterested in the objections that they raise.
I'm sure you are. I'm sure. Are you aware that there are no peer-reviewed journals in North Korea criticizing communism? None.
Conspiracy. Kent, sociopolitics isn't really discussed in peer-reviewed journals in the way you seem to think these things are. You seem to not understand what a scientific journal is, what the concepts of peer review are, nor do you understand the nature of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. So I will appreciate it if you'd leave that country's name out of your goddamn mouth.
What does that prove?
And are you aware that geochronology, the accuracy of geochronology, is relied upon by the mineral industry, the minerals that go into your computer, your car, your petrol? They are all explored for using geochronology, fundamental to the continued economic prosperity of our society. So your claim that what you need to do is actually show that the ICR geologists are going to get paid by mineral companies in order to find these subsurface mineral deposits. And they aren't, because they don't know what the hell they're talking about demonstrably. Money talks, bullshit walks.
Wow.
The creation.
Oh, he wants so bad to stay his little. You just had a word in your mouth, or something in your mouth. I put in my hand.
They're talking about, they're spewing bullshit.
Are you aware that we teach our children not to step in that stuff? And
there you go. There you go. Him being the biggest fucking baby.
Put it in your mouth.
Well,
Okay,
I'm
anyway.
sure you imagine that that's a relevant point. Let's get back onto the evidence
I think it shows an IQ
for
level.
sea level. Let's get back onto the evidence.
Hey, it shows an IQ level, so I'm going to insult your intelligence because you use words that we don't like. When ironically, the use of what is considered profane language is tied to high intelligence.
Okay.
For
right,
whether
let me-
or not sea level was at any point higher. Do you have a dated, vertical datum controlled sample that you assert times to the flood?
Well, you have a lot of wavy lines with that, but let me get
All your Bible is, it's representative of nothing, Kent, but those wavy lines on paper are representations of actual known data, facts. And by the way, Kent, since you know you should be familiar with this phrase since it comes from someone you probably think is a person. Facts don't care about your feelings. Reality doesn't care that the actual facts surrounding it hurt your little feelings because it makes your little pacifier of a Bible story shows that it's a load of shit.
on just one topic of this.
No. I asked you a question. You're supposed to be answering the question.
All right,
Do you
The answer goes, shut up, James. Shut the fuck up. Let them fucking talk, asshole.
Same
have
thing.
a
Same thing.
dated?
Same thing. Tony is. You know, if you ask him a question, we got to give him a chance to answer.
Okay.
Well, yeah,
you mentioned,
he was not
among the
answering. He was going to talk about something else.
Okay.
No.
But
Yes, you were, Kent. Thank you, Tony, for fucking holding him to this shit.
You know that.
well, let's just give him a chance, and then if he doesn't answer it, then you can address
Don't
it.
pull your hair out. Calm down, okay?
Shut up, Kent.
Listen, the ice cores, you mentioned that among the 40 things you mentioned. I was taking notes like crazy. And by the way, I'd be glad to answer any of these if you give me.
Laura, congratulations. You can pick up your I Want It Kent Hovind bingo pin on the front table as you leave. Thank you for playing Yamato Bingo. Your credit card will now be charged $9.99.95.
Time. I haven't studied this carefully. If you go to Denver, Colorado, put my
Yeah, shut up, James. We want Moodang.
slides up there, Joseph. Go to Denver, Colorado. They have the Ice Core Laboratory. When I was preaching in Denver, I went there to talk to the people where they store the ice cores. They drill from usually from South Pole or Antarctica and Greenland and other places like that. They have a coring machine. They drill down into the ice cores. I went and talked to the guys who do it. Okay. And here's some of the ice cores in Denver, Colorado at the laboratory there where they store.
Was this before or after you went to the bovine fertility clinic and had a really long conversation with the guys who do it?
Hundreds of these. Ancient Arctic ice, Antarctic ice in Denver. Ice core samples. Here they are stored in this giant laboratory. I was there years ago, okay? Talked to the guy. They claim that the layers are annual ages. And some of the data that you rely on is that ice core or sedimentary dating is annual or predictable how it's formed. Here's the truth behind it. Ice cores, get up here, powders, different kinds of names. Right here. Okay. Greenland, Antarctica, the annual rings are very thin. Deepest core is over 10,000 feet deep and measures 135,000 years ago. Really. They're assuming that the white layer is packed snow, a winter layer, and the clear layer is melted and refrozen, a summer layer. That's the assumption. Summer, winter, summer, winter. This is baloney. During World War II, a bunch of airplanes had to land in Greenland. They ran out of gas. It's a long, complicated story. And a guy got a brilliant.
He can't not tell these stupid stories the same way and notice he's just going to go on and usurp as much time as possible. James, are you that fucking stupid that you don't know that Kent Hovind uses whining and bitching when corrected as a tactic to get a reason to get as much time as possible and to monopolize with his bullshit? Of course, you don't actually give a fuck because you're a grifting piece of shit. Fuck you, James.
An idea to go dig them out. Popular Mechanics ran an article about that. Let's go dig the planes out. They called it the Lost Squadron in Greenland. They went to dig the planes out. They found them with ground penetrating radar. They melted a hole down to get to them and took one of the P-38s apart, put it together. It flies today in air shows in Middleborough, Kentucky. So they went
all that useless info
down there.
This is just him prevaricating.
Thank you, Tony. Oh my God, thank you. Finally, someone is truly putting all the pieces together and just calling Hovind down on every single bit of his bullshit.
Not getting to the
Moderator.
point. I can tell. I
Moderator.
can answer what he's saying
Moderator,
without
shut him up,
taking an
please.
hour
Shut
to
him
do it.
off.
Hovind, shut your own ass up, you piece of shit. Pathetic, whiny ass bitch. You're 73 years old. Fucking act like it.
It's my
Oh,
turn
hold
to
on
talk.
one second.
Shut him off.
I'll swing it back over to you, Tony, but let's just give Kent a chance to finish. And then if you want to point
Can
out,
you wind it up, because I know what he's saying.
No, you don't.
Yeah, we fucking do, Kent. You have nothing new to say and haven't said anything new except racial insults, bigoted bullshit, and political commentary straight from the fresh from your own asshole. That's how valuable it fucking is, because you don't know shit about anything. It's the only new shit you've had in 30 goddamn years, Kent. Everyone knows exactly what you're going to say in every single thing, to the point where it is trivial and has already been done for an AI chatbot to be made based on you. Now, the one that was set up a few years ago wasn't the best, but I think that's limitations of the tech. But there is a non-zero chance that a Turing test could be done with an AI chat system, an LLM, fed all your info, that could not perfectly emulate you to a point where a human could not tell whether it is you or a machine.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Well, they drilled down to get to the plane. They went through ice cores. I talked to the guy who did the drilling, went down there to get to the plane. They took it apart, put it back together in Middleborough, Kentucky, in the ground for 48 years. The planes were 263 feet below the surface. That's 5.5 feet a year. That's 1,800 years if you divide it by 5.5 feet, the 10,000 foot deepest core they've ever drilled. Deeper ice is pressed, so okay, planes don't sink. If they sink, no, planes are always nose heavy, so that in case they run out of fuel, they come in nose first instead of tail first.
Wind it up, for fuck's sake!
all right,
Thank you. Jesus fucking Christ. You bloviate nonstop, Kent. It's pathetic.
have to give him a chance to finish. We need you to
Where did
relax,
you get this vocabulary,
Tony.
sir?
How long does he get to talk about this?
3
Kent,
more days and I'll quit. Okay, 3 more days. Just shut up.
We do
Okay.
have to.
Now listen.
It is, to be fair, it is true that we got to give you. We have to have the back and forth.
He can have equal time. I talked to Bob Cardin. He dug the plane out. He said there are many hundreds of layers above the airplane. In 48 years.
See, this kind of shit right here is not that you didn't have people from the get-go being like, Kent won. Dare not look at the chat on this. You've all already told me what's been going on, but when people get pissed off, rightfully so, at Kent doing his bloviating bullshit, they see that as, oh, they got mad because you're speaking the truth. And it's like, no. But it's another point Kent can use to his brain-dead followers, being like, see, they got mad because I was speaking the truth. Worship the Hovind. Love me. And they're all like, you Kent won. Time to go slap my dick on Trump now. Fucking idiots.
They got hundreds of layers, but they still call them annual rings. All this charts and data you gave us is
2-49 from our ghost in Ireland for the Kristu grift. KDD, Kristu Day debates, anyone? Hey, shit's coming sooner than you think.
Is based on assumptions that they're annual or they're some seasonal, some kind of predictable.
They're based on facts, evidence that demonstrates these things, Kent.
Pattern, and it's just simply not true. You don't know your earth science. Come to my class. I'll teach you. Okay, go ahead. Your turn.
Okay, for starters, this is just bullshit. The plane wasn't in the ice. It is in what is called firn. In order for compaction to occur, it actually takes something like 200 years before you start getting ice. The substance near the top is just firn, F-I-R-N. This is a loosely compacted surface layer. It's not considered ice. It's not considered part of.
What the hell are you about to write down, Hovind?
Of the ice core. So all of this entire anecdote was just him talking about firn compaction, which is an introductory topic for graduate students. It's got nothing to do with the ice layers. Can he stop sharing his screen now, or is he too senile to manage that?
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I fucking love it. For those who don't know PhDTony, Crackatony is an endearing nickname we gave Tony for when he loses his cool. Tony is okay with the nickname. Thank you. I was building that association, but I'm like, hang on, someone needs to clarify, but I didn't want to interrupt the flow by asking. I already interrupted the opening by talking about koala anime from my childhood, so you know.
The other problem with that is that we can actually date. Seriously, can he stop sharing his screen, because I've got material that I can share.
So, well, in Zoom here, he's not sharing.
James, Kent is fumbling through his slides because that's what he does when he should be listening to the person he's talking with. He's always got his shit on screen. James, you need to show what Tony is trying to show and get Hovind off the fucking screen completely. Quit being an incompetent cunt. Oh, wait, I forgot. You're probably placating Hovind because you know this will get you more money. Real honest and fair channel there, James. Fucker.
It. If he wants to have something in his background, or if he wants to split his screen.
Well,
and
he's
have
taking up the
something-
majority of my screen.
Okay.
Okay, maybe he's legit seeing something different on his end versus what we see on the output. So I'll give that much. But still.
Let me see. So it's not what the audience is seeing. I'm not sure how.
Okay.
I believe you. I can assure you that what the audience is seeing now, they weren't seeing any more of his screen than yours.
Right. Okay.
Now
no
it's
problem.
switched over
It
to
looked
where
like
it's showing just
he was
yours, though.
dominant
So
over
I can
the,
load that up.
dominant screen. Okay.
Yeah, Tony's going to be getting a sub from me after this.
So, yeah. Look, I made an entire presentation just for you. I hope you feel special.
Ooh, isotopes.
So, there are things called tephra. These.
Ooh, Mount St. Helens. Y'all want to go with me to study isotope concentrations at Mount St. Helens? That would be fun. I mean, actually, it'd probably be boring as fuck, but the idea is very fun. And I'd get to go to Mount St. Helens because I really want to go there. I've got some connection to that place, and I don't understand why or how, because it blew 4.5 years before I was born.
These are layers of volcanic ash and volcanic material that interrupt other layers. Here, for instance, is a tephra layer in Iceland. This is a layer of volcanic ash, and this is radiometrically datable. So we can obtain a firm radiometric date for tephra layers. These ice cores that Kent is talking about, they contain tephra layers. Also, these tephra layers are geochemically distinct. So they have geochemical signatures, so we can tell which volcano and which eruption caused the tephra. So we're not just assuming that this is an annual event. When we don't include tephra in our cores because it isn't sufficiently compacted, because it isn't a closed system yet.
I was looking at my phone, looked up, I'm like, what the fuck? Is that virtual insanity? No, wait, that's a guy touching some ice.
It has to actually be ice. It has to actually have turned from snow into ice. It has to have gone significant compression before it can be considered environmentally sealed. So we don't use data from those superficial layers that are just loosely packed. And it takes a minimum of 70 years for that to occur. And in the dome areas, like that plane landed in, it says, as I said, it takes, as I said earlier, 200 years for that to occur. But I'm glad that we're on the topic of ice sheets. I'm glad that we've brought that up, because there are distinct geological layers that form around the edge of ice sheets. So grounded glaciers grind up the material underneath it, and they produce this very distinct, finely ground silt. And as icebergs leave the ice sheet, they carry debris with them, and they melt and they drop that into the silt underneath. These are called diamictites.
Wow. What kind of Mac OS 9 sound effect was that? Kinda love it. I love Mac OS 9. I really should bring that laptop and fire that up and do some old computing. Anyway, yeah, you ever just, you see photos from like far north, and they'll just be giant ass boulders in the middle of fields? That's why. It's freaking awesome. Glaciers are fucking amazing.
And it's interesting. Here's
And no, don't drink the glacier water. You will contract diseases that have not been seen by man since beyond the last ice age.
Yep. Here's some diamictites that are found in Namibia, which is a very interesting place for diamictites to occur. Here's some diamictites.
Diamictites in Namibia. Whoa. They've been there a while.
From around the world. Here we're in Canada. This entire formation down here is diamictites. This is the Nantuo tillite over here. Down here is the glacial in Death Valley, the glacial marine diamictite. Up here you've got the Cap Dolostone. Here you've got 22 meters of Cap Dolomite overlying diamictite. We're going from Canada to China to the US to Svalbard, which is near Sweden, to Greenland. These things are found everywhere. Australia. Now, the interesting question that I have for my interlocutor is when and where did 2 kilometers, see this black stuff? That's glacial till. That's glacial till. That's one glacial epoch. This is another glacial epoch. This is from Oman. This is from Oman, right in the Middle East. When in his history, since he claims that the ice sheets formed at the beginning of the flood epoch. So this can't be from before the flood. So his claim must be that these 2 distinct, and this is the scale down here, 500 meters. So you can see that's more than a kilometer. That's a mile thickness of glacial till overlying another glacial till beneath it. When did that happen? And how long did it take for a kilometer of glacial till to form in Oman and in all the other locations? And then add on to that the amount of time it took for the Cap Dolostone to form on top of that, and then for this shale to be overlaid, and then to get into the subsequent layers. This is the glacial formation down here. This keel formation stuff.
I kind of push you to the same thing. I just have to be sure.
During the flood or post-flood, when did this other stuff?
But James, he's actually saying things that matter and are providing new and novel facts to the conversation. Kent is a bloviating asswipe.
Occur.
All right, we'll kick it over to Kent.
Oh, I don't know. When I get to heaven, I'm going to watch the video on that. That's interesting. I'll try to get
Oh no, watch the video on that in heaven. Oh.
a message to you wherever you are at the time. But the flood is going to cause all kinds of things to happen. The crust of the earth is broken up. It still is today. There are fault lines everywhere. During the beginning of Noah's flood, when the fountains of the deep broke open, the crust of the earth would be broken up like an eggshell, and the plates would be floating around, drifting around. Now they're mostly locked into place, with the strike fault and slip fault. Most of them are locked in. At the beginning of the flood, and probably for several hundred years later,
Like, I'm just gonna be serious. How can you listen to these two talk and not think this dude on the right is a total country bumpkin fuckwad, and the dude on the left actually knows what the hell he's talking about? It's incredible.
They were still loosely connected, moving around. So you'd get all kinds of strange things happening, forming these things. But I think I'd give the benefit of the doubt to the Bible, like Aristotle said, when you're criticizing a document, as you are.
Did Aristotle give to the doubt? Where did Aristotle say?
Shut up, James. I want Krakatoni.
We did have the same way that Kent waited for you for several minutes. We got to give him the same
Then this is an open discussion, James. This is bullshit.
courtesy.
Okay. You have over and over in this evening mentioned about the radiometric dating of these layers as if that's some kind of evidence. I think you need to understand with radiometric dating, it's obviously based on assumptions. If you've tried to fill a barrel with water, and I've drilled holes in the other side, eventually you reach a stage called equilibrium. You can't fill it past that point because it's leaking as fast as it's filling. The radiation from the sun is producing, let's take carbon-14 as an example. It's producing carbon-14, but it's decaying at the same time. So you have an equilibrium problem. And they've done studies on this. How long would it take the Earth to reach equilibrium? And they studied, after studying intense on this, you can read all this yourself later. They said it would take about 30,000 years for Earth's atmosphere to reach equilibrium. Now, I think all the scholars agree on that, and I agree with them. If you had a freshly born planet, stick it out, get it going around the sun with an atmosphere, the radiation begins forming C14 and it begins decaying. And in 30,000 years, it equalizes. After that, you can measure things with it. Okay. Problem is, they said we know the Earth's millions of years old, so we can ignore the equilibrium problem. The Earth has still not reached equilibrium. Radiocarbon is forming faster than it's decaying, which means the Earth is less than 30,000 years old. So all these illustrations you're using about millions of years and counting on that, if the Earth's only a few thousand years old, they're all dead. Something's wrong with your thinking. Okay, fluctuations in C14 rate production means at time the production exceeds the decay rate. This is well known. If you walked into a room and found a candle burning on a table, and I asked you,
Fucking candle.
When was it lit? I don't know. Well, let's do some science. Let's measure it. The candle is 7 inches tall. Then we measure how fast it burns. Burning an inch.
Kent Hovind is jealous of the candle because it's longer than he is, it's bigger than he is, it's thicker than he is, it's better than him in every single way.
An hour, okay? When was it lit? You can't tell me unless you can assume how tall it was and that it's always burned at the same rate. With carbon dating, any radiometric dating, you have to assume you know what was in it when it was laid down. You know the decay rate's always been the same, and you know there's been no contamination. He's interrupting again.
Shut up, Kent. Shut up, James.
You have to assume.
Quit being a whiny bitch, Kent.
Oh, you're lying.
We got about 45 seconds left for Kent.
I don't see this going very, very well.
Yeah, this isn't open discussion. This is moderated back and forth in couple of minute chunks. This isn't an open discussion. James, if you're going to have an open discussion section, have a fucking open discussion.
Very far, brother.
Good.
Jesus said the creation of Adam was the beginning. I think I'll stick with Jesus. But when you find fossils or anything, you radiometric date anything, like what your whole presentation is based on, various types of radiometric dating, you don't understand. You're basing it on the assumption you know what was in it. You know it's never been contaminated. You know there's been no decay rate change. I don't think you can know those things. Go ahead. What's next?
Kick it back over to Tony. Ready for you, Tony?
Okay. I'm so glad he brought that up. So how do we know? So just a moment. I'm going to need to share my screen again.
Yeah, with the crazy ass setup that Hovind uses, and the nature of Zoom combined with Restream and whatever else, or the nature of things, or the way they restream stuff. I didn't mean to say Restream is in the branded product that we're using right now. I meant actually literally rebroadcasting things. It seems like Hovind can't have his slides come up at the moment. So that's pretty fucking funny.
So I will point out that he was prattling about.
Oh yes, Tony's using a Mac, so that's why the OS 9 Mac sound may have played, because I think those are still in Mac OS. Very good.
Carbon-14 as though it's the only radiometric dating technique available to us. It absolutely is not. He is right to suggest that we don't know the initial state, but he is wrong to suggest that we need to. So here's the initial state. We don't know how much parent there is. We don't know how much daughter there is, but we've got some reference that is non-radioactive. So here's the modern state. We know how much parent we have. We know how much daughter we have. We know how much reference we have. We know that the relationship between the amount of daughter and the amount of parent that we observed is related by this linear equation. This linear equation here, right? This is the amount of daughter product. This is the final amount of parent product. These are things we can both measure with the ratios. We don't know this number. We don't know this number, but we can plot them up. So it should be a linear function. We should get a linear function, and this is called isochron dating. And if we separate out the different minerals with the different abundances, and if they plot onto a straight line, then we know that there has been no leakage or disruption of the system that we're sampling, because if there had been, it'd be deviated away from this linear function. So how closely these measurements adhere to this line gives us an indication as to whether or not the system has been disrupted. The claim that it is even possible for decay rates to have varied through time, similarly, there's no demonstration that it can, and further, there's no indication that it's possible. That would require the laws of physics to change. In particular, the weak force of the nucleus would need to change in order for decay rates to occur.
See, Kent, that's how screwed up your entire view of reality is that fundamental forces of the universe just have to miscellaneously change. It's just, no regard to anything, just change. And that would kind of fuck up every single bit of reality. It's especially rich coming from you people who also love to talk about fine tuning.
Can go to uranium series dating. This blue curve here is the curve, the ratio between uranium-235, lead-27, lead-26, uranium-238, the ratio between those two. If the system were undisturbed, if the system were completely closed, this blue curve is what should be on. But instead, we've got these observations here. This, by the way, is from a creationist article, so I thought it very interesting that they're using a Concordia. Well, the people they hired to do the dating used a Concordia diagram. So we draw a line, and if these things don't end up on a line, then we know that the system has been disturbed. So we can detect. Furthermore, we have amino acid racemization data, and we have cosmogenic exposure age dating, neither of which rely on radiometric dating. So we have dating techniques that he has obviously not studied and is obviously not familiar with that we can use for the material that we're looking at.
Time. We'll kick it over to Kent. The floor is yours, Kent.
Okay, I think we've deviated pretty far from the topic of the debate of the flood.
Translation, this is getting to stuff I don't have slides on, so.
Did the biblical flood happen? The Bible claims that the world was overflowed with water and perished. Jesus said there would be scoffers who would doubt that in the end time. We're seeing one tonight. And there are 500 flood legends from around the world. So
you already said all this, Kent.
I think the topic of the debate is, was there a flood? I think it's obvious with all these legends and with the Bible certainly claiming it was, and Jesus claiming that Noah was right. I'll stick with Jesus. I think there was a flood like the Bible says, and God's going to judge the world again. I think there are overwhelming bits of evidence from science that the earth simply cannot be billions of years old. The salt in the ocean is one that I cover in my video. We know the oceans are gaining salt every day. Evaporation takes out the water. Mineral salts wash off the ground. The salinity of the ocean is changing, but today it's only 3%, 3.5% salt. Great Salt Lake is like 35 or 38% salt. The Dead Sea, same thing. So the oceans would be much saltier if they were older. You are claiming, Tony,
but not as salty as you, Kent,
that the oceans are millions of years old. Why aren't they saltier? I go through, like, for instance, the Earth is spinning, but it slows down, and we know why. Tidal friction, for example, Coriolis effect winds and ocean currents. We know the Earth is slowing down. It's why they have.
Honestly, I really should go through this, much like Kent whined and bitched, or one of his followers, measured the amount of time Aaron Ra had versus Kent in their discussion back, nearly a decade ago now. I really should measure the amount of time each person had. But yeah.
A leap second every year and a half because the Earth is slowing down. You do the math, you say, man, you go back millions of years, it was spinning so fast it'd be a frisbee. We would have a flat Earth then, wouldn't we, if the Earth was billions of years old? Then, so I go, I think.
Nope, not how reality is, Hovind, but you wouldn't understand anything about that.
Your whole presentation, Tony, is based on the assumption, the false assumption, that you have millions of years to work with. And there's lots of indicators you don't have millions of years. So whatever else you're doing with all your charts and drawing lines on paper, you don't have millions of years for it to work. Sorry.
See, Kent, you went off into another topic in you closing up, saying, sure, you're supposed to stay on the topic of the flood, with yet another bold assertion of complete bullshit.
Sorry.
Okay, that was completely unresponsive to the fact that I introduced tests by which we could demonstrate the reliability of test and demonstrate the reliability of radiometric dating. That was unresponsive to the fact that we have dating techniques other than radiometric dating, and that was completely unresponsive and simply an attempt to change the subject to some other young Earth creationist talking point that has been debunked a million times.
Thank you. Calling them out.
You leave out the fact that there is mineral deposition at the bottom of the ocean, for instance. Yes, salt gets washed in, sodium and chlorine end up bound in the minerals that are deposited at the bottom of deposited in the bottom in the ocean layers. You left that out. You didn't say that the oceans deposit minerals, did you? That wasn't in your cycle. So no, we don't expect the infinitely increasing salinity that you claim should follow. And all of your other examples have been endlessly debunked by professional Earth scientists like myself for decades. Yes. You've been crapping over me, my colleagues, and my entire discipline for decades using nothing more than I think, I believe, I'm going to believe Jesus. I'm not saying don't believe in Jesus. I'm not saying don't be a Christian. You can be a Christian as much as you want. Just don't interpret the book of Genesis as though it's a science textbook, because it is demonstrably factually incorrect on multiple levels. And Kent's lack of familiarity with amino acid racemization and cosmogenic exposure age, he talks to his followers as though he's an expert in geochronology and can debunk them. I bet he doesn't have the first idea how either of these techniques work.
Let me guess. The debate isn't about what I can do. That's not the point here. The debate's about...
We'll kick it over to Kent for his 3 minutes as well. And then shortly, about 10 minutes from now, we'll go into the Q&A. Folks, we're looking for substantive questions. So any insults toward Tony or Kent,
well, you ain't going to find them in your goddamn audience.
we're not going to read. We want substantive questions. Go ahead, Kent.
Well, I use the illustration because I want people to understand. Example, if I told you these ballpoint...
Oh, there we go. There's the pins. There's the pins. You love to see it.
Point pens were 5,000 years old. I carbon dated them, and made from plastic, which is an organic.
You wouldn't carbon date pins, you fucktard.
Organic product from oils. You could probably get a wild date from that. But if you say, how do you refute that claim? Well, my claim is they're 5,000 years old. The ballpoint pen was invented in 1888. There were no ballpoints until then. They had feathers and quills and stuff like that. Split the end of the feather and dip it in the ink. So just as one simple fact, the ballpoint was invented in 1888, proves my 5,000-year claim is wrong. Whatever a carbon date I got doesn't matter. The pen wasn't invented. Then we find out, oh, that's wrong. Okay.
But the far more recent chariot wheels and shit found in the Red Sea, or whatever location Kent acknowledges is where all the Exodus events were supposed to have happened, and Pharaoh's army got crushed. Those totally are indicative, even though they come from centuries after that time period. Those are totally evidence that the events in Exodus actually happened. Yeah, real smart there, Kent. Real great standards you got. Very consistent.
Okay. So we say, let's move it up to here. I'll say, okay. Now, 1907 is when plastics were invented. The pen's made out of plastic. So I don't care what kind of carbon date you get. Plastics weren't invented until 1907. So that proves my claim of 5,000 is wrong. Two different ways. Then you see Bic wasn't even a company till 1946 after World War II. So Bic was created. So you can't say the pen is 5,000 years old. There are three simple ways to prove it cannot be. I don't know when the pen.
And every aspect of nature is not a ballpoint pen, you fucking moron.
Was made, but have to be after 1948, 1945. So when you see, regardless of all the dating methods, when you see any one factor of a young Earth,
I swear to fuck, whenever I finally am, or whenever anyone's involved with a debate with Kent, if we're ever watching one live or I'm involved in something, especially if I'm involved in it one way or another, I want my chat to be filled with nothing but, whenever he's talking, shut up, Kent. We want Mudang.
would prove it's young. If you find a sunken shipwreck and there's a box full of gold coins.
Oh my God, he's doing it. The Big Pen thing is just some bullshit he started doing, opposed to the old coin thing, which he taught Eric, because Eric does it and is famous for getting it wrong. Eric fucks up a lot like that. He's going to do it. He's saying, here's the thing, James. I need you to understand that Kent is just saying the exact same thing over again. He's not saying anything of substance.
In there, and you look at the dates on the coins. You look at the youngest coin to determine when the ship could have sank. If there's a coin in there from 1700, the ship sank after 1700. Regardless what the oldest coin shows, none of the radiometric dating things that show bigger numbers would matter if one indicator of a young Earth, or 6,000 or so years, is valid. And I think
that's not how this stuff works, because you don't understand the way the dates are actually gathered, the corrective measures made in the methodology, Kent. Your constant assertions that go into the conspiracy bullshit are basically, they do science wrong. Yes, Kent, we know you think that, but that's not the case. Let's see what we got here. A 10 Australian dollar super chat from Nismo. Yes, the Big Pen. I've been waiting for it. Let the ink flow through you. I haven't done Palpatine voice in a while. Shut up, Kent. We want Mudang.
there are plenty of them. The spin of the Earth, the moon getting further away, Google lunar recession problem. I cover 30 of these on video number 1.
No, Ken. I'm much more interested in Googling the lunar refreshment problem. I go to the moon. I better have some goddamn tang.
So, Tony, all of your claims tonight, all of them, are based on the assumption you got billions of years to work with. And you don't. It's not there. Sorry.
The lunar regression, I remind listeners that the original topic here was supposed to be Noah's flood. Kent was asked for a single chronologically controlled indicator point consistent with his flood hypothesis, and was unable to demonstrate one. We've now moved on to this idiotic lunar regression hypothesis, which relies on the assumption that the modern rate at which which tidal dissipation occurs has been constant for millions of years. And that is demonstrably untrue, because the geometry of the oceans has varied through millions of years. Therefore, the tidal dissipation has varied across the millions of years. And if you actually do the modeling properly, the rate of modern lunar regression fits very well with the formation of the moon about 4 billion years ago. So again, this is and Kent is trying to scattergun these counter science talking points that have individually been debunked, and hoping that I don't know the refutation to one of them, so that he can claim, there you go. See, here's one indicator of 6,000 years that this particular scientist couldn't explain on this day. Therefore, the Earth is 6,000 years old. All of this has been debunked. Each of these talking points has been debunked. In fact, some of them have been so heavily debunked that the large creationist organizations, ICR and Answers in Genesis, disavow Kent because he uses such crappy arguments regarding the age of the Earth.
Pick it over to Kent. 3 minutes.
Well, I've got quite a few peer-reviewed articles. Just take the moon, about you saying the rate of, because I understand how the tidal friction and the tides going up and down is what causes the Earth to slow down in its spin, which is transferred to the moon getting further away. Here's Space Place from NASA. They said we're getting further away. Here's 4.
Let me use something intended for kids and just say that it says there's lunar recession, but I'm not going to actually address anything that anyone's saying. And I think the look on Tony's face pretty much sums it up. He's thinking, really? Space Place?
Magazine, the moon's leaving about 4 centimeters, 1.5 inches a year. Here's from astronomy.com. The moon's leaving us 1.5 inches a year. Bye-bye moon. There's all kinds of stuff on this. Space Answers from NASA. Okay. The moon is gradually spiraling away. Here's physics.org. Yes, the moon is leaving us. This is an article at physics.org. Here's from Forbes.
Kent, no one is denying there's lunar recession. The point is, as stressed, that you run an assumption. You will simultaneously act like values. You always do this. Whenever values need to be consistent, you will claim they're consistent. But at the same rate, whenever there's an opportunity for things to be variable, but that doesn't match what you want to be the case in your stupid fairy tale, you go, oh, it's consistent. You literally acknowledge what's said and act like, yes, I understand such and such, and then show you're not even paying attention.
Again, the moon is leaving us 1.5 inches a year. Why is the moon leaving us? Well, you know why. Okay, it's not a mystery. The moon is drifting away. Moon's orbit is increasing. There's a law called the inverse square law, Tony, that says if you bring an object into 1/3 the distance, if they're attracted by either magnetism or gravity, you take that 1/3, flip it over, and it's 9 times the gravitational pull. Inverse square laws work with, light and gravity and all kinds of things like that. Okay, so the moon's distance is increasing. The evolution of the lunar semi-major axis is a well-known problem. The orbit collapses a little over 1 billion years ago. Astronomical Journal. Okay, if you bring the moon back in time, the orbit collapses. So just this one factor that.
Hey, this is an amusing coincidence, but while I'm listening to this, I'm just doing the random shuffle of my tarot cards because y'all know I like to do that. I always got to have something to fidget with. And the bottom of the half of the deck I was messing around with happens to be the moon card.
The moon is moving away, and of course, it's avoiding the question of where did the moon come from to begin with, and how did it get moving, and where did the Earth come?
Oh, the impact with Theia about 4.5 billion years, 4 billion years ago. It was pretty early.
From, I'm assuming you believe in evolution for all of that. Came from a dot of nothing explosion.
None of that's evolution, Kent. Nothing about the moon has to do with evolution. Like literally, nothing about the moon has to do with evolution in any way, shape, or form. The moon has played a role in the nature of life on the planet, a very critical role, but the nature of the moon itself, its origin, its existence has nothing to do with evolution, or evolution has nothing to do with those properties of the moon.
But if you take the moon recession problem, just that one takes away your billions of years. I know you need billions of years. That's the pacifier that keeps you guys going. Go, just give it enough time. And amoeba.
And see, these little fucking insults. It's another thing. If I ever host a Hovind debate, I mean, that shit's not going to fly.
Can turn to a whale. That's just, there isn't time.
I remind the audience and my apparently senile opponent that the topic of conversation is Noah's flood, and I directly answered the lunar regression thing previously, and then he repeated it because he apparently is incapable of understanding simple English. The modern rate at which the moon is increasing in distance from Earth cannot be linearly extrapolated back through time because the rate of lunar dissipation is not constant through time. That depends on the ocean depth and the ocean geometry, which varies because tectonic plates move. The rate of lunar regression that you claim can be extrapolated linearly backwards in time cannot. And modern modeling of this process shows that there is no problem with the lunar regression. I answered this previously, and you repeated a claim after having had it explained to you. How senile are you?
Not at all. Tony, you keep saying you
No, Kent, you are pretty goddamn senile.
answered. You didn't answer, you talked.
Sleepy Hovind, and no, he fucking answered you. Jesus Christ, you're a fucking cunt, Kent.
That doesn't mean you answered. Your lips moved and you talked. No, the fact is, there are lots of indicators besides, you say the geometry of the Earth changed, which changes the tidal flows. I understand all that, okay? And that would change the rate of recession, okay? The moon is leaving us. Whether it's fast or slow, it's leaving us. Where did the moon and the Earth come from? This all ties in with the flood, like the topic of the debate tonight.
No, it doesn't, Kent.
The Bible teaches God made the world in 6 days about 6,000 years ago, and there was a flood 4,500 years ago that destroyed the world. And there's lots of indicators the Earth isn't billions of years old. I go through lots of them on video number 1. Tony, I'd like to see you get back to believing the Bible. I don't know if you ever did or not.
There we go. There's the petty shit.
But you need to. You're going to be judged by that book. I'm concerned for your soul. You need to get.
That's another rule. If anyone does any debate bullshit on my channel moving forward, is there's going to be no proselytizing. Anything like this is right out.
Give your heart to the Lord and get saved. Yes, I believe the flood story is true. I don't think you've disproven it at all. You haven't disproven during the flood, you would get the crust of the earth moving around, causing all kinds of these features like you showed about the different coral reef. Coral growth rate is a pretty indicator. Coral reefs. Why is the oldest reef in the world? There we go. Coral reef for NASA here and NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Coral. Many hundreds of thousands of individual polyps make up coral. The people who...
Hey, Kent, didn't Trump defund them? So why are you using them? They're just a liberal hoax, ain't they?
Study coral say, look, the coral reefs could form in a few thousand years. All the coral reefs, they're at the rate they grow. I should have had the slide ready. Coral reef, forget the anatomy of the coral, which is pretty complex. There. I watched my video number 1. I'm sorry, Tony. I should have had this ready, but coral is a good indicator. The size of the coral reefs. I was at the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. They've done lots of studies and drilling core samples and stuff in that. They say the Great Barrier Reef in Australia is about 4,500 years old. Okay, well, I would agree with that. That's when the Noah's flood was. Sunken Japanese, as they find coral growing on things. Coral grows pretty rapidly. How old is the oldest coral reef? American oceans. 5,000 years. Coral layers. Oldest coral. Million years ago, this reef formed. They said, oh, wow, okay. So anyway, Tony,
I got this 5,300-year-old coral, or however the fuck old it is. And look, there's this million-year-old coral, but we're going to ignore that.
I'm sorry if I've offended you tonight, but I think you're on dangerous ground. You're calling Jesus a liar. He said the creation was the beginning.
I would call your Jesus a liar. Also a cocksucking piece of shit, but the fucker doesn't exist. Get the fuck over it, Hovind.
The Bible says there was a flood. Aristotle said, if you want to criticize a document,
The Bible also says slavery's good, so eat a dick, Hovind.
the benefit of the doubt goes to the document. I don't think you've disproven it. Shown a bunch of fancy lines on paper. That was interesting. I'll just study that. I'll watch this debate again when I get time.
You won't study shit, and the only reason you watch one of your own debates is probably to jerk off to whoever's on it. And I mean, that's your prerogative to do whatever, although I think that's kind of, fucking disgusting to do. But, based on evidence we have, we trust the document. We have the audio document that seems to piece that together as what you do to, people interviewing you, debates and stuff. You're a real big mass debater there, Kent. So yeah, I don't think you're going to be paying attention to the actual science. Also, once again, all your Bible is lines on paper. You want to act like there's some value behind those lines when there's not. Yet simultaneously, when presented with actual academic data, you claim it's lines on paper. Yet all of that is representation of actual fucking data. So go eat 9 millimeters of cold. Fuck you, Kent.
And I'll try to answer those questions.
That's about how big your yourself is. So go fuck yourself. Okay? Just somehow twist everything around and fuck yourself, Kent.
More thoroughly. Other people, I try to keep my seminar entry level for high schoolers and stuff like that. As soon as you show, potassium argon dating decay rate, they're going to go to sleep on you. So anyway, come visit our Dinosaur Adventureland, Tony. We'd love to have you come visit.
And always this come visit bullshit. No.
So I'm sorry if I didn't please you with my answer. I think the topic of the debate is the Noah's flood story true?
Yeah, and you proceeded to shit the bed, Kent.
I said, there's 450 legends, 500 legends about it. They're talking about
micro penis having motherfucker. Oops, did I say that on a hot mic?
Something. The layers of the earth all indicate they have to be this.
I mean, really, that's why he's compensating, because he's inadequate everywhere else. That's his third wife. You think someone who was worth a damn wouldn't be divorced 5 times over?
All be the same.
4 times over. Who fuck cares?
Same age.
30 seconds.
How can they be different ages? Where are the layers coming from? The top layer. There's no such thing as a geologic column. No such thing. Okay, go ahead.
Let me just run my script. Also, you got to get Ken Hovind's permission to continue.
Tony, we'll give you the last word for this. This is the open dialogue, so we'll give you the last 3-minute stretch, and then we're going to go into the Q&A. So, folks, thanks for your questions. As a reminder, we want sincere questions.
James, if it's timed, it's not open dialogue, you fuckwad.
We don't want insults toward either guest. Go ahead, Tony.
Okay, I actually work alongside people. This is a paper by Yokoyama et al., Teza Esat.
Oh, sorry. That person sounds Japanese, and Kent's going to disregard them because he's a racist piece of shit.
Joey Webster, Yosuke. These are a bunch of people that I've worked with that I know very well. Yusuke, I used to play Olympic handball with. So this is somebody I know well, and I like that Kent is trying to tell me what their research consists of. Here are coral samples that have been taken from Barbados and the Great Barrier Reef that from 20 to 30,000 years old. So the modern barrier reef, in its modern position, yes, that's 4,500 years old. But the Great Barrier, there are fossil barrier. There is a fossil barrier reef that is much greater depth because sea level was a lot lower. Here are his samples from this particular study in the Great Barrier Reef, and he uses these data points in order to refine the eustatic sea or the barystatic sea level curve, like so. Again, the data just look. This is not a question about whether or not you should be a Christian. This is a question about whether or not there is evidence outside the Bible to support the biblical claim. And in this case, in the case of Noah's flood, there is none. Kent has failed to show a single securely dated, vertical datum for a single data point. And I'd like to end with a particular sort of example. Imagine a trial where the prosecution claimed that the defendant physically robbed every bank in the world in the same year. The defendant is a character from a book that has not been shown to exist. The prosecution provide no evidence the character was ever in a bank. Instead, they provide evidence that some banks have been physically robbed. They provide no evidence the banks were robbed in the same year and no evidence the banks were robbed by the same person. Every element of their claim is just them saying that it's true, showing that there are some sea level indicators above, some indicators
10
that
seconds.
some points have been inundated doesn't show that all points have been inundated. Showing that some points have been inundated, multiple points have been inundated, doesn't show that they were inundated at the same time. And there's no evidence that the same flood inundated all of the points. He's failed on every single attitude.
And
shut up, James. We want Mudang.
we are going to jump into the Q&A. Want to remind you folks, both of our guests are linked in the description box. What are you waiting for? Even if you disagree,
quickly, we got to jump to the Q&A because that's the part where I make the most money.
With one of the debaters, there's a lot of value in hearing it straight from them, going to their channel and hearing it rather than someone in your own group, let's say, summarizing it. You can know for sure you're getting the argument straight from the horse's mouth. And we are looking for sincere questions. So anything that's an insult or anything that's just like, you, so-and-so, you didn't bring any arguments, but so-and-so won, we're kind of like not exactly into that as much as
James, you ever think that maybe that's the kind of audience you've attracted through the years? That's the kinds of people that support you, as people who boil things down to that. But in this case, yeah, insulting Hovind, just like insulting several other people you propagate, is the right thing to do. I'm just going to say again that the only good Nazi is a dead Nazi. Take of that what you will.
This one's a good example of a good question. Creationist Crybaby says, Kent, fossil organisms are found with other fossils from coherent ecosystems, not violently mixed with organisms from dissimilar environments. Can you explain why this is?
Well, I don't know that it is that way. I think the fossil record is, the fossils are pretty...
I don't know that it is that way. Whether you know it or not doesn't matter to what it actually is.
Jumbled up. I think on the top of Mount Everest, they find, and it slides up there, Joseph. When they climbed in 1953, they began finding thousands, maybe even millions of petrified clams in the closed position. I got a whole bunch in our museum here.
Those ain't clams. They never fucking were. They're not clams. They don't work how you think they do, you fucking moron, Hovind.
Dinosaur Adventureland. Petrified clams that are closed indicate they've got buried rapidly, because clams open as soon as they die. You can walk along the beach and find a million seashells. So I think the Mount Everest is 450 miles from the beach, and clams don't climb mountains very well. I think maybe the water was...
You know, Kent, something worth bringing up is that you talk about walking on the beach and finding seashells. You'll notice that none of those are the same species as what you find fossilized on the tops of some mountains now. I wonder why that is. Could they, you know why it is? Because they practice good social distancing. They lived millions of years apart. Dumbass.
I don't say the water was over Mount Everest. Mount Everest wasn't there during the flood. The mountains arose at the end of the flood. And so it says so in Psalm 104, and it's logical. Everything was covered in water. I think Edwin Hillary, when he climbed Mount Everest, said there's a 3,000 thick foot layer of clam seashells on top of Mount Everest. They find when they climbed the Himalayas.
Just literally the top of Mount Everest, the entire surface layer is nothing but 3,000 feet deep of just seashells. What the fuck are you talking about, Kent?
Mountains years ago, was this 2001, they found 11.5-foot oysters, giant oysters, 2 miles above sea level. The biggest oyster.
Those, even if, I can't see what the fuck those are. I remember you bringing this up before, but whatever the hell they are, they ain't fucking oysters, Kent. Not like we think of them today. None of that is modern life, if those are even a fossilized life.
Today, according to Guinness Book of World Records, is 14 inches. How do you explain 11-foot oysters 2 miles above sea level? And petrified clams in the closed position. I think that's pretty clear evidence of a rapid flood, a worldwide flood.
Once again, James, this should be evidence of the fact that Hovind just spews shit as much as he possibly can. He doesn't engage with conversations. He just, instead of answering the question, he just went into this spiel.
Do appreciate it. Bless My Vibe Code says, Kent, I don't agree with you on all the Bible, but I respect that you once taught math. Hope you've been well.
Except he didn't, dumbass.
Thanks for your kind words. They said, James, glad you're back. Thank you. I'm glad I'm back too. And this one from that one random said, ask, what is an isotope?
Well, an isotope is a variety of, like there's carbon 14, carbon 13, carbon 12. It's missing a few electrons or neutrons or protons. It's been bumped around.
Are you fucking serious? Are you fucking serious? Kent, if the proton number has changed in an atom, it is no longer that atom. That is what determines what atom it is. Neutrons determine isotope. There are stable isotopes and unstable isotopes. Not all elements have stable and unstable isotopes. Most of the time it's stable, and they may have unstable ones. A few, I think a few legitimately don't have unstable isotopes. They just will not form. And there's a few that also do not form stable isotopes, especially as you get into the higher atomic masses, where you have elements that only exist naturally for blinks of an eye. They're that intrinsically unstable. The nature of protons affects the way the electron cloud behaves, which gives atoms and elements their chemical properties. The neutron value doesn't affect much, but it can create issues with some aspects of molecules forming, and the properties of those molecules may be slightly different. But it really, in the end, your bigger issue is just going to be the inherent instability because the nucleus is a bit too massive. And so you're going to have a neutron decay phase. Electrons don't change anything except certain chemical properties because all chemistry is explicitly electron based. It is electrical physics. But Kent, but those kinds of changes are going to be a minuscule of variety compared to the nature of atoms being different. Your properties of gold and copper are similar, but not the same. Your properties of gold and copper with, you know, with ions of them, missing electron, having an electron isn't too crazy. Bonding's going to change a little differently. That's it. You might be able to get an odd combination here and there. When you get neutrons different, that's when you get the fun stuff. And neutrons decaying into protons with electrons being released. That would be your beta decay. Memory serves. I don't know why I always get them mixed up, but I think alpha is helium nucleus and beta decay is going to be the electron emission, positron emission, and the decay of a neutron into a proton. That's when your atom actually changes and properties change along with it. But you're trying to describe what an isotope is into definition rather than just defining it, which absolutely fucking sickens me as someone who really likes physics and absolutely fucking loves the nature of nuclear physics. I can't remember it all. I have, some problems with keeping things cemented in my brain. It's a little scattered up there. I'm wired a little different, but that doesn't mean I don't care about the stuff. That just means I am differently abled in that regard. And I know some people don't like that phrase, but that's the way I'm going to use to describe myself, or what I'm going to use to describe myself in that regard. That being said, you absolutely fail at even remotely defining and explaining explicitly what an isotope is. I award you no points and wish to have the deed to Dinosaur Adventure Land because you don't deserve it. You've never deserved it, but this is yet another reason. And the way Tony looks up there kind of cements everything. Yes, I am legitimately pissed off at what he just said too. It's like that he's that fucking stupid. Super chat $4.99 from Tyler West. Thank you, my friend. Kent Scientific Evidence is I know a guy who shed. Yep. Let's just go through this one more time with Kent, though.
Probably by some.
Let's just jump back. It's gonna act up. We'll let it refresh for a bit. How's everyone doing? You doing okay? You hanging out? Everything good? Come on. Come on, you piece of shit. Refresh. Ain't got no goddamn gay day. God damn it. I ain't got all. It's a gay day here. There you go.
Well, An isotope is a variety of, like there's carbon 14, carbon 12. It's missing a few electrons or neutrons or protons. It's been bumped around.
Also, Kent, generally an isotope actually definitionally will have additional neutrons. That's usually what happens.
Probably by something else.
In fact, you really got to go out of your way to remove neutrons without it being a beta decay event. In which case, you get a proton, and
little rabbit trail. I believe the Bible teaches there was a crystal canopy over the earth that protected the earth from radiation, so it'd be almost,
which is completely, goddamn, my mount thing's acting up, which is completely fucking irrelevant to what an isotope is, you goddamn idiot. You always gotta preach. It's all you gotta fucking do all the time is fucking preach.
No carbon 14, an isotope of carbon, and almost none of that would be formed from nitrogen. So therefore, when we dig up phosphorus and datum, as soon as I'm done talking, you can. So as soon as the isotopes,
fuck you, Kent. Interrupt his ass. Fuck him. Fuck procedure, Tony.
Where it's a variety of an existing atom. The 92 elements, there are isotopes of many of those. I don't know how many. It's been a long time since I studied that.
He's trying to explain isotopes because he was actually asked explicitly to define an isotope. And Kent, you never studied that, you fucking idiot.
And I don't care.
Of course you don't care. Education, science, and reality mean nothing to you. You're pathetic.
Tony, what do you want to clarify?
So he said that they have different numbers of electrons and protons. No, they don't. They have the same number of protons. They have different numbers of neutrons. Oh. They have different atomic mass.
I should have expected Tony to explain this, and Kent just goes, "Oh."
Somebody who claims to have taught science for 30 years should know what an isotope is because it's basic chemistry. And the fact that
Thank you, Tony. Thank you. I can't wait for Kent to spend half of Sunday bitching about this.
You can't explain it properly, but you presume to lecture people on science and the standards of scientific evidence is rather concerning.
Well, I'm sorry you're concerned. Take a pill.
This one from Duke.
What a fucking dumbass. Goddamn. Until you're concerned, take a pill. And that's some Lake City quiet pills for you, Kent. If you know, you know.
Appreciate your question. Another example of a great substantive question. We do appreciate this. The Curtis Hatchell Project says, Dr. Hovind, please, doesn't the human and animal footprints in stone on top of the sedimentary rock prove multitudes of human and animals survived the flood outside of the ark?
Great question. I think it proves that it took months to kill everybody. Again, if the earth was busted up into plates, as it still is today, Google fault lines, I think the plates of the earth would be...
And funny that no one during all this was like, "No, we're sorry, let us on the boat." And he just had to deal with that constantly for months. What the fuck?
Tilting, shifting around, and something might be underwater and gain sediment layers, and all of a sudden that plate, a plate the size of Texas, would tilt maybe half a mile. The water runs off. Now this mud layer is exposed, and the animals all run to high ground. There are certainly hundreds of thousands, maybe.
Note again Hovind's story of a catastrophic flood that's simultaneously very peaceful. He always does this kind of special pleading where all this kinds of indescribable stuff happens, like just beyond epic events occur, yet everything was super placid. You have a floating continent the size of Texas bobbing and doing whatever. Everyone's running on it, but the water is just peaceful as hell around Noah's Ark. What the fuck?
Millions of footprints found in stone. They're dinosaur trackways with thousands and thousands of dinosaur tracks, all going the same direction, running for high ground. I think all that proves is it took a while to kill everybody.
It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground.
Everybody in the flood. That's why Noah was in the ark for over a year. So it took a while. They would run through the mud. A new layer of mud covers it. It all hardens, lithifies, turns to stone. And we dig them up and say, wow, here are dinosaur footprints. Many thousands of them. Yes, that indicates they probably survived outside the ark for a few months. Not that they survived totally. Okay?
They also ask, why won't you debate me?
Who?
Curtis Hatchell Project.
I don't know who he is. Has he?
Curtis Hatchell Project, whatever the heck that name is. I'm not knocking. I'm just like, did I even hear that correctly? Get a hold of me. I'll make it happen.
Offered to debate, Joseph?
They also said
Only if it's about creation evolution. If you want to debate, should we put blue shoestrings in or red shoestrings in? I'm not going to debate that. Okay.
Yeah, I noticed that all of a sudden the reality of Noah's flood is off your debate list.
It is? I thought we just...
Yeah, Kent, you just said only if it's creation evolution, so all of a sudden you're taking the Noah's flood topic off, but you're going to say it's part of evolution.
Well, you just said evolution and creationism. You didn't say Noah's flood.
Well, it's not very often I debate that, but I think we had one tonight, didn't we, Tony? Where were you?
Yes, we did. But you're what I'm pointing out is that you're not offering to debate him on it, which I would suggest that you're aware that you got your ass spanked.
Ah. I don't think so, but we'll let the audience decide that. Anyway, I'm swamped. We have a lot going on here, Dinosaur Adventureland. I get to it. I'm a real busy man, and I can't take on every subject. But yes, I do believe, and I'll say it again, the Noah's flood story given.
You know, Kent, you could get a lot more debates done if you did take on every subject. We know from your prison days you took on all comers.
And the Bible is exactly correct, scientifically, mathematically, historically correct. There was a flood, covered the whole world. And they found Noah's Ark, I believe.
Oh, sorry, I forgot I've been running hot mic the past few minutes. Later, Griff.
But anyway, but you don't want to believe it, so do what you want. Believe what you want.
This one from Basil Problem. They say, PhDTony, can you please explain what the value is for you debating in this forum? Or are you just trying to gain followers?
No, I'm not trying to gain followers. I'm trying to demonstrate that cretinous, contrarian charlatans have zero scientific credibility and should not be listened to when they opine on literal interpretations of the Bible. So I understand that Mr. Hovind's followers are not going to be swayed by my presentation. That's fine. My aim here is to prevent neutral observers from lending any credence to what he says, and to demonstrate that he is in fact scientifically illiterate on every single level. But I thank Basil Problem for their question, and I thank Basil Problem for their concern. They're keeping me honest.
This one from Duke.
One thing, I will confess, chemistry was my least favorite in high school because the teacher, Ben Propek, was staring at the back wall the whole time, talking a mile a minute. All the kids were running around the room.
There's a teacher, Ben Propek. What the fuck, Kent?
He had no clue. So I didn't. Chemistry is my weakest. I never claimed. I never taught chemistry. I never claimed that I did. I taught earth science, physical science, and biology. And there is no evidence of evolution at all.
By the way, Zoomy, to make it easy, toss that link in Discord to me. It's a little tricky to pull it from Restream. Apparently, Restream wants to suck now. I mean, it always sucked, but you know, it sucks more.
And almost all my debates are on creation, evolution. I believe the Bible, biblical flood. I'll put together better slides for you next time, Tony. Okay, I'll try to answer you. I'll look back at this when I get time, and I'll answer your questions more scientifically to suit you, if that'll help. If I could answer them, would you convert over and be an independent Baptist like me?
If you could demonstrate the reality of the flood, I would certainly concede that God was real. But the God of the Bible is not somebody I think is morally admirable.
Okay.
So anyway, carry on. And this is the point that I'm trying to make. I'm not trying to argue that anybody shouldn't be Christian. You want to be Christian, and if Christianity brings you comfort, go ahead. I have no problem. All I want is the scientific evidence substantiating this, and you didn't present any. You presented, I believe, the Bible says this, the Bible says that. You didn't present any evidence. And I presented evidence that is inconsistent with your hypothesis that you never addressed. You never addressed the 5 kilometer of sediment from Wanganui and the repeated interglacial cycles. You didn't address the ocean bottom foraminifera record. You didn't address the
before we go back into. There are just so many people.
Shut up, James. Let them cook.
A lot of questions that before
Sorry.
we go back to the debate. This one from the Curtis Hatchell Project said, Dr. Hovind, can you prove with absolute scientific proof that footprints in stone on top of mountains were made before the mountains rose during the flood? If not, that proves Noah isn't true.
I think that's a lack of logic there. I think we can prove there are footprints in stone all over the world. Go look at them. I've been there many times. Glen Rose, Texas has a whole bunch of them. It's famous for it. They have a state park there, Dinosaur Valley State Park, to preserve a section of the Paluxy River where there are hundreds of dinosaur footprints. They don't show you the part where there's human footprints mixed with them. That is next door at the Creation Museum next door.
Yeah, those aren't human footprints, dumbass.
To the Dinosaur Adventureland, State
Dinosaur
Park
Adventureland
in Texas there. So yes, the fact that there are footprints in stone indicates they were put there when it wasn't stone. It was mud, and mud hardens and it's called a lithification. And so yeah, I think I can show you pictures of hundreds of thousands of footprints in stone.
But Kent, those are just lines on paper.
Now, when they were done, that's why, see, I admit I have a belief, a religious belief. I believe God made the world. I believe there was a flood. If I can't prove all aspects, I believe it. I don't think Tony will admit that he believes some things. He wants to think it's all.
There he goes. Finally gotten the last bingo check of calling science a religion.
All science. I don't know what you believe about the creation of the earth, about the Big Bang, all that kind of stuff, or evolution. That's more my field, my cup of tea. But anyway, I've never seen an evolutionist admit that evolution is a religion. And it's nothing but a religion. You have to believe in it. So I thank you for the information you gave tonight, though, Tony. I'll study that. I like that kind of stuff. But again, chemistry is my least favorite and my weakest of all the sciences I taught.
Curtis Hatchell Project says, Dr. Hovind, got that one. This one from, do appreciate it. Yet another. Also, they say, Dr. Hovind, is it true the ancient megaliths like Pamapanku, am I saying it right, and Machu Picchu were made after the Great Flood and before the sedimentary rock hardened, and that proves the story of Noah can't be true?
I don't know when those giant megalith structures were formed. There are all kinds of theories of it. We don't even know how they move some of those. We can't move them today.
Except we do know, and we totally can move them.
The 700-ton stones, we can't even move it. How they fit them together so perfectly, that's kind of off topic of tonight's debate. But I do believe their people were much bigger before the flood. There's lots of books on the topic of giants, people living on the earth, if you want to get into that study. Giants who ruled America. So I think there's pretty overwhelming evidence that there was really, 18-foot tall people. Smithsonian seems to like to collect those skeletons and lock them in their basement.
Conspiracy, it's a conspiracy, it's always a conspiracy.
But that's a different story. So I think they were bigger. I think they were much smarter and had technology. They would laugh at our technology today. There are stories and rumors about them moving stones with sound waves. How do you
May I
know?
respond?
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't think I asked a question. But,
If you, the only thing
keep
is,
it brief.
there are just so many questions that because we did kind of
We
go back.
do
Fuck off, James.
know how they
debate
move the
mode earlier.
stones. That's all I'm going to say. We do know how they move them. There's no evidence of giants. That's just made up. Carry on.
Kent, the type of motherfucker to pay 3 times in one day to see the Cardiff giant.
Let's see. Curtis Hatchell Project said, Dr. Hovind, you know the footprints and the date of the ancient megaliths are a problem. It's basically what they already said. This one for Max M says, question for Tony and Ken.
What was that? James getting mad at somebody saying something they already said? But you let Hovind do that.
What is the drink of your choice, whether it be alcohol containing or non-alcohol?
what's that have to do with anything?
Diet Coke?
It's an
Kent does not want to play this game.
It's an attempt to humanize the speakers. I drink a lot of Coke.
I love that. It's like Kent doesn't even comprehend these things. Like, get to know people as people. He doesn't care about people. So when someone tries to get to know him as a person, is ridiculous. He just can't process it.
Zero, which is 0 caffeine, 0 sugar.
I drink
Kent-
well water, which I know full well means the babies will be born naked. I've never tasted alcohol.
Your stupid jokes. No one cares.
In my life. I had NyQuil once, and that's it. So I don't know what alcohol tastes like. I don't know what beer tastes like. Don't want to learn. I've saved a lot of money, if nothing else.
You got it. Robert Summers. Let's see. Kent, can you back up the claim of yours that the koala would have a land bridge, not just a claim that, quote, we all know the water was lower before, unquote?
Well, I think the whole koala question is based on the obvious assumption the koala had to walk over there. What if somebody brought it in a boat? We've got a parrot here in our dinosaur adventureland, I think from South America. He didn't fly in here. We bought him at a pet store. People are always transporting animals around. My wife has a dog that's completely useless, and they carry it around in the car. So
there we go. He's talking shit about his wife's dogs again.
I think the fact that the koalas are in Australia does not prove they had to walk there. Somebody might have brought them.
Where did they get the eucalyptus leaves from?
They get those from eucalyptus trees. They grow on the trees, called a leaf.
Yeah, and where are the eucalyptus trees in the Middle East?
I don't know. Maybe there weren't any. Maybe they and maybe they had a different diet. Maybe they went from a koala eating something else to a koala eating eucalyptus, changing from a omnivore koala to a eucalyptus.
Oh, here we go. One of his evolution sticks coming up. Oh, came from a dot, exploded and out of nothing.
Koala is a minor change compared to going from a rock to a koala. That's a real
So
minor
they
change.
evolved. So you're saying they evolved?
They evolved from eating things other than eucalyptus to a specialized diet. Probably going to go extinct because they're pretty dumb, So yeah, I think animals.
So you're invoking near instantaneous evolution in order to explain. Yes, you are. It's good.
It's a degradation of their gene code where they can only digest certain things. I bet they'd like to be able to eat a hamburger once in a while. I don't know. I've never talked to a koala.
No,
but,
actually,
koalas would like to eat hamburgers. What the fuck, Kent?
They depend very heavily on their diet because eating eucalyptus makes them inedible to predators. Predators can't eat them because of the eucalyptus toxins in their blood. So actually, it's not a degradation. It is a protection against predators.
Wow, I better eat some of that.
This one.
Please do, Kent. Please. Skip the koala because we don't want you killing a poor defenseless marsupial, but eat a whole bunch of eucalyptus with your salad and see how it goes for you.
One from, do appreciate it. Sour Pounder says, Kent, where are the peer reviews of Noah's flood? Why is it not in peer-reviewed work?
The world's best-selling book. No books in the world sell more than this one, by far. It is peer-reviewed. I've reviewed it. Millions of people have reviewed it, and this one says there was a flood. That's the ultimate peer-reviewed journal, the Bible.
This one from Tom Willis says, Kent.
It's the world's most piece of shit book. Get the fuck over it, Kent. I don't have any more to say to this asshole today.
Let's see. Okay. So this one from, do appreciate it, Curtis Hatchell Project says, Dr. Hovind just admitted, okay. Yerba Mate Talks is after show on Yerba Mate Talks open panel. Let's talk and discuss the debate. And Jim Daniels says, PhDTony, I hope your ankle is feeling better. Get well soon.
Thank you.
This one from.
What about my little finger I hurt the other day? Nobody's.
Fuck off. Egomaniacal bullshit. Christ, there's still another 20-some minutes of Q&A.
What about his ankle? Gee whiz, I was in pain.
This one from that one random says the ark wasn't found. It was debunked as uplift.
Oh. I'm sorry you feel that way.
Oh, I'm sorry you feel that way.
Tom Willis says, Kent, ice fell from the sky to create the ice caps? ?
Yes, the super cold ice. When ice gets down to a really low temperature, it becomes magnetic. You can just Google magnetic ice. You get down to cold enough, ice becomes magnetic. I believe, by faith, I don't say it's scientifically provable, I don't know. The Bible says there was water above the firmament, and the birds fly in the firmament. So there was water above the atmosphere, probably a layer of ice. The Jews have always taught it was 2 or 3 fingers thick. A crystal canopy completely surrounded the world. It could be held up either by inflatable, like an inflatable building, just simple air pressure. That would keep it up there easily. Or the magnetic field, or maybe a combination of both. And
No to all of that, Kent.
because of ice at low temperature, and outer space is nearly absolute zero, minus 450, whatever is 59 Fahrenheit, 273 Kelvin, 273 centigrade, minus or 0 Kelvin. The super cold ice up there would be sucked in and dumped around the North and South Pole if it was shattered at the beginning of the flood. It's my theory. I've never said we got to pay to teach this to kids in public school. Those who believe in evolution want everybody to pay to have their religion taught. I don't say that. But yes, we know this. We know that at low temperatures, ice is magnetic. We know the Earth has a magnetic North and South Pole. We know that the ice age, the effects of the ice age are visible, more centered around the magnetic North Pole than the geographic North Pole. The ice came further south into America, clear down to southern Illinois, than it did over in Russia, for instance. So the magnetic North Pole used to be down here in Canada when I was a kid. It's migrating around. I don't know where it is now. I don't care. I was an Eagle Scout. You had to find the angle of declination from true north and the magnetic north when you're navigating by compass. So, yeah, I think that's just a theory. I think it matches. So far, nobody's debunked it. It doesn't mean it's true, but I like it.
So how did the Tibetan, the New Guinea, and the New Zealand ice sheets form?
Well, if it's high elevation, because if the crystal canopy is shattered, I think most of it would dump on the poles. I've said that consistently all along, most of it. Some of it might have fallen straight down. I have no control over what the ice does.
This one.
Okay, but it all falls down on the same spot, right? Anyway, don't worry.
We appreciate it. Even Lord says, for Kent, there is genetic proof of a genetic bottleneck of most species. Could it have been the flood?
I think there was definitely a genetic bottleneck. Noah took 2 of each kind, not 2 of each species. There are 26 different definitions of the word species, okay? The Bible says after their kind. A dog and a wolf are different species, but they're the same kind of animal. So Noah probably had about 8,000 different pairs of animals on the ark. Go to baraminology.com. Baramin is Hebrew word for kind. They say there's about 8,000 kinds of animals needed to go on the ark, pairs of them, okay? That's reasonable. And that all the animals came from a rock, which is what evolution came from, a dot of near nothing exploding, Big Bang. So yeah, I see. I've always admitted, I believe the Bible story. I think all the evidence so far supports it. I've never seen anything to debunk it, but I take by faith that it happened, and I'm not making everybody pay to teach that. These guys want everybody to pay for their start to be taught. I resent that. Get your start your own private school.
Nobody teaches that life came from a rock, and you've had that error of yours explained to you on at least a dozen occasions that I've personally witnessed, and you persist in that complete misrepresentation. And he's about to pull up that stupid article that he misquotes about the role that rock played in the process of abiogenesis, but
The one I would like to remind everyone that I did a complete stream on reading, so go check that out. It's literally titled "Reading the You Owe Your Life to Rock" article.
That abiogenesis is not an evolutionary process. Abiogenesis is distinct from the theory of is distinct from the Big Bang theory, and is distinct from the theory of evolution.
Well, I'm glad you've watched it many times, Tony. Abiogenesis, listen to me, is essential for evolution to get started.
And that's not how subjects are discussed. That's not the way stuff works. You don't start with 0 every single time. You compartmentalize these things, you dumbass.
Life gets started, and the books will say the Earth was a hot ball of rock. National Pornographic said it. Earth was a hot bowl of rock, hot molten ball of rock. If the Earth was a hot ball of rock and it got rained on millions of times for millions of years and turned them into soup, then life came from that soup. You and Aaron Ra would get along fine. Nobody ever said we came from a rock. Earth began as a hot ball of rock. Why don't you call NASA?
Yes.
They said that.
Asteroids are rocks, right? Asteroids are rocks, right?
No, some are ice.
Most asteroids are rocky.
Oh, okay.
But
I taught you something. Thank you.
But they have organic molecules on their external surface, right?
No, how do you know that? What do you mean by organic molecules?
Because we've sent spacecraft to the asteroids to get samples and bring them back. Are
No.
you not aware of this?
I am. Are you aware that there's all kinds of problems with that? Are you saying, what do you mean by organic molecules? Do you think there's living things on these asteroids?
Kent not comprehending what organic means, because of course he doesn't.
Or
No, I understand the chemistry is bad for you. The chemistry is a weak topic.
I do
But
believe it,
organic means primarily carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen molecules, right? That organic chemistry.
Kent, that's why petroleum products are organic. Kerosene is organic. Plastics are organic.
When we use the term organic chemistry, we are referring to a particular subset of chemical processes and substances that.
Oh, this isn't a formal debate. This is just a debate. There is no formal debate on the internet. None whatsoever. Kent's earliest debates are formal debates, and that's yeah, he hasn't had one of those since well before prison. And even then, they're much better handled through specialty exchanges over a long duration in an avenue that works for such, i.e., not bulletin board systems. It's a little jab at some other fuckers. It's a video a few things back if you haven't seen it already.
Are not necessarily living, but are comprised. There are organic molecules that are found on those rocks, right, on the external surface. So you just said the asteroids are rocks, and you agreed with me. You now agree with me that there are.
And there's the stupid article.
I gotta give Kent a chance.
Some are ice. Anyway, go ahead.
You got to give Kent a chance. Hang on, I got something prepped for that.
All right, then, but you agree, even the ice ones also have organic material on them.
No, but the word organic, most people take that to mean living or.
It's irrelevant what most people think, Kent. That's not how this stuff is defined. Get the fuck over it.
Part of living.
Yes, most people who are scientifically illiterate do that. But you're claiming that you've taught science and you've debated this topic for 30 years. You should know better. Right? You've had the opportunity to instruct yourself better than the average person. So therefore, when I use the term organic as a scientist, I have a very specific meaning. I do not mean organic life. If I meant organic life, I would have said organic life.
Okay. So you're claiming.
All right. Time for us to to share what we've all are thinking since he's decided to open his mouth. Are you ready?
Morning! Hi guys, this is the Bangkok. Shut up! I want morning! Shut up! Morning!
There we go. We all needed that. We all very much needed that. There you go. In case you were wondering about shut up, I want Moodang. That's an animation of the original clip, but that represents it 100%. All right, let us continue with this shit because we're powering through this. This has been pretty fucking great. Damn it! I continued playing Moodang. No, stop. Give me a moment. And I seem to have forgotten how to operate YouTube. Bear with me a moment. All right, let's. Oh, Davey, Joseph, bring it up on screen. There we go. There we go. Shut up, Kent. We want Moodang.
That these asteroids have some of the molecules that are used to make up life. I have a gravel pit right here I'm sitting on top of, 140 acres. Today we went around and found giant deposit of iron ore. That iron ore is a basic component of cars. So because we have iron ore in our gravel pit, that proves nobody made cars.
Kent, an automobile could be made structurally out of dang near any material that would provide enough it would have the proper properties that are desired for whatever is being produced. You could make a car entirely out of plastics, save for where you absolutely need such metals, and you can still avoid iron for the most part. There's very little actual explicitly, in fact, nothing I think actually explicitly has to be iron / steel. You can use other materials, but costs are going to be different. There's a reason we use the materials we do, and only part of it is the properties of the material itself. That determines what we're going to pull from, but cost. Iron is a pretty abundant element. You want to know why it's a real abundant element, Kent? Because that's what causes stars to go supernova. Once you get a nucleus or the core of a star, once you get to an ash nucleus of 1.4 solar masses of iron, a star goes boom, reach the Chandrasekhar limit. And whatever material doesn't wind up becoming a freaking black hole during that process is very, very surely distributed through the cosmos. That's how things work, Kent.
Make themselves, doesn't it?
We'll have
They're
to
made
go
out
to
of
the-
iron, you know. That's a precursor to carbon.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, good.
But there's.
I hate to do it,
So
but
this is going to be, but this is him actually being incredibly dishonest. He lies that evolution.
I know
James, shut up. Let him do this.
that you
Big Bang
guys.
Theory and
I know that you
abiogenesis
guys
are the same.
disagree, but I
No, this isn't a disagreement. This is correcting his factual ineptitude, his deceptiveness on this subject.
there's somebody has to have the last word.
Okay.
Technically, the
Well,
question.
I got came to me, right? The question was to me.
Yeah, so that's usually we
Okay.
give you the last word.
What Tony is wanting very badly to not show the world is that he wants to skip up of the 6 different levels of evolution to number 4 after life gets started. He wants to actually go to number 5. You can't have evolution of anything without life getting started. So abiogenesis is essential to your religion of evolution. You can't go any further without getting life started.
This one from
You gotta have
Austin
it.
Sims says Kent saw
Oh, hey, our friend, Austin. I've hung out with that guy. He is cool.
solve the heat problem. I can. The world is ancient. There isn't that much H2O on Earth, and it didn't move around that much. Problem solved. Your turn.
Okay, there's plenty of water on the earth to flood the world. If you lower
No, there isn't, Kent.
If you smooth out the world today, the water would be 1.5 miles deep everywhere. There's plenty of water. It's not a problem. If the atmosphere was compressed into, say, double atmospheric pressure, squeeze the 10 mile or 50 mile
It wouldn't cause that kind of atmospheric pressure increase. I double-checked, Kent, so you're wrong.
miles of air down to 10, put a crystal canopy around it, like I believe the Bible teaches. When that canopy shatters, the heat problem is solved because the air is now expanding. Take a
No, such expansion wouldn't be able to sink up that much energy.
simple physics class. Get a can of hairspray, hold the button down. It'll get cold in your hand. It's how air conditioners work. Okay, you compress the gas, release the pressure, it cools off. So the air around
Yes, and that heat is exchanged into the atmosphere, you fuckwad. It's got to go somewhere.
the earth being released to go out 50 or whatever it is miles, it varies with tidal pull and all that. But the air around the earth would cool off simply by expanding. What heat problem are you talking about?
The heat problem that is being asked about here is the heat problem that results from the friction of the plates moving around at the speed that you dictate, the heat released by the lithification of limestone, the heat released by all of the impacts, the meteor impacts that we see. They release extraordinary amounts of heat. The heat released by all of the radiometric.
It's more proper to say the energy release, which is invariably going to become heat. But we'll continue.
Decay that we've seen. You don't deny that this has occurred. You just deny that it has occurred over the time span. If you compress that into a smaller time span, you have a release of heat that is deeply problematic. We are talking about multiple H bombs per, like 10 H bombs per square meter of Earth's surface in terms of heat. Having a atmospheric expansion is not sufficient to dissipate that level of heat. This topic has been very widely discussed. by Gutsy Gibbon, who is the primary promoted. But there are other, and this is a well-known problem that, for instance, the rate team have no solution to. That the
Gotta go to the next question.
Shut up, James. This is why I don't bother with Q&As most of the time, because it's all this. It's never any decent discussions, you know. It's always other bullshit.
Okay.
Wait. He forgot a major thing. Wait, go ahead, finish up.
I forgot a major thing.
You forgot the enormous amount of heat produced by the hot air from all the evolutionists teaching their students. Don't forget.
Go suck an exhaust pipe, Hovind.
To add that one. And yours, by the way, you're adding quite a bit yourself tonight.
This one from last minute, from Adam Bernard. Hey, Tony, tell me, how does non-living carbon become something living by lying around those other non-living things you mentioned?
Okay, I'm so glad you asked. There are self-organizing chemical processes. Once those get started, they can arrange the geometry of the molecules next to them to copy themselves, so they can become self-propagating systems without corresponding to life. They don't eat, they don't have lifespans, they don't die, but they can recreate themselves using the material around. It is through the progression of these that you get increasingly sophisticated non-living molecules that eventually can combine through symbiotic processes towards life. Now, we don't know exactly how that occurred. This is still a work in progress, but we don't need to know exactly how it occurred to know that it occurred, because life exists. Now, Kent will argue, well, you're just
Note that Hovind just decides to bring up one of his abiogenesis slides, because of course.
believing that it's possible. Okay, true. We haven't demonstrated that. That's fine, but it's not a religious belief, because we know that self-organizing systems exist. The principles have been demonstrated. The principles have been physically demonstrated and chemically demonstrated. Whereas the existence of a God has not been demonstrated. So substituting God as an answer there is not a scientifically valid hypothesis. Whereas systems and processes that have been demonstrated to exist can be invoked in a scientific hypothesis.
This one from, do appreciate your question. Max M says, Tony, are you related to a strawberry?
To who?
Oh my fucking god. Here's where the Hovindites decided to send in their shekels thinking they're cute. Hey, James, you talked about no insults in the question, but that question is a thinly veiled insult from Hovind's camp, so you might not want to answer or ask those questions. Otherwise, that make you a hypocrite.
A strawberry.
Yes.
So one from Tony or Tom Willis says, Kent, can you please define unclean? Because the Bible says 7 each unclean and 2 clean.
No, it said 7 of the clean and 2 unclean. Unless I legitimately have that backwards, but I'm very certain I don't.
I don't know, don't care. No.
And you know what cements me not knowing that, or being sure of that? Believe it or not, it is the nature of the Noah's Ark portion on Bible Adventures, the Wisdom Tree game. The second level, after you collect 2 of every animal, you got to collect 7 of them.
God said do it. Noah must have known because he did it, but I have no clue.
You got it. And the Curtis Hatchell Project, a standard question from the chat. Let's see. Okay, it's more of a plug for his own debate. But
You're more of a plug for your own debate.
With that, folks, check out our guest links in the description box. We appreciate our guests. They're the lifeblood of the channel. What are you waiting for? Click on PhDTony and Kent's links right now. You can hear their positions straight from them by checking out their links. Huge thank you, guys. It's been a true pleasure to have you. Bless my vibe code with a last-minute super chat. Said, love you guys. Indeed. Thanks,
Well, thank
guys,
you.
for being
Appreciate it. Thank you. Bye. Good night.
I'll be back in a moment.
Good, Hovind's gone.
folks. So stick around. I'll let you know about updates, including DebateCon coming up.
Okay, so is the rest of this just him plugging shit? Yeah, it's just him talking. Just literally, he's talking head. Okay, that's great. I'm glad we're fucking done. I couldn't have taken much more of that. As beautiful as it is to see Tony tear Hovind a new one. Those fucking questions. The fucking nature of all of that. Oh, man. Kinda sucked. You know what didn't suck? Having y'all here to enjoy it with me. That was fun. So there we go. Hovind just got his ass fucking handed to him yet again. You love to see it. I don't really have anything else to say. My final commentary would be yeah, James sucks. That's about that. I've got cats that want my attention. It's 7:13, so the daily reset is happening in Guild Wars, so I that up. Nismo tossed another tip on Ko-Fi. Thank you so very much, my friend. Your one from last night as well. Greatly appreciate those. Going right into the PayPal and helping fund laundry tomorrow, actually. That's what those will most definitely go towards. So you're freaking awesome. Totally one hands down, absolutely. All right. I don't have anything else really. Check out links below. As always, hit the Discord. Excuse me. You're all freaking awesome as always. Much love. I'll catch everyone next time.